Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Deku Built a Family from Broken Pieces? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Sleet needles the alley and then forgets it, skittering on the dumpster lid and falling dull. The metal leaks cold in a slow sheet. Her shoulder prints against it again, same damp oval as before. She peels off and the wet cools fast, a slap she can't afford. The ring kisses a canine once and she stops it from making a second sound with her tongue. 1 is awake. 2 is a tell. She does the count again because the count is a handrail. Phone dead. Bus card bent. Wrapper, star, pincus. She presses the coins into her palm until they map circles into the rubbed gold. When she opens her hand, the sticker keeps the shapes like a cheap miracle. It's not money. It looks like it is. The compressor thrums an exhausted square of warmth into the air, barely bigger than her face. She leans to catch it and misses. A laugh tries to come out and turns into a breath with teeth. She shoves her hands under her thighs and holds them there to thaw the ache in the knuckles, counting 10 slow and getting to 6 before the shiver resets the numbers. The brain lies when it's cold. Make the numbers simpler. 1, 2, 1, 2. She stands because sitting eats heat she can't rebuild. Knees argue. Ankles wobble. The alley shifts a fraction left and then settles, like a camera that needs the right tap. She picks the tap inside her skull and gets her eyes level. Don't be a problem. Be a ghost. The alley mouth shows a slice of street, orange lamps, a bus sighing at a stop, a man in a hood shaking a lighter that won't spark, the paper sign for a closed pawn shop curling at one corner. She waits for a car to pass because shadows look like choices when things are moving. When the street goes briefly empty, she moves, body close to wall, shoulders rounded to look smaller and mean less. She steps over glass she can't see but knows by the way her shoes grit. She doesn't look at faces. She counts shoes. Sneakers. Heels. Boots. If a pair stops near her, she changes pace by 1 notch and it almost always makes the shoes reconsider. Tonight all the shoes keep their errands. 2 doors down the laundromat lays heat into the sidewalk through its seams. The scent is detergent and warm lint. The metal grid over the vent sings a constant note. She places herself in the plume without stepping far enough to trigger attention and closes her eyes because the lids are warmer than the air. The heat climbs her cheekbones first, then the tip of her nose, then the cartilage inside her ears, and those small victories make her knees try to relax into it. She locks them. The body has stupid ideas about when to collapse. Inside, a TV throws moving color on the ceiling and no one looks at it. A teenager in a coat folds towels like a machine and drops them into a basket with a thud she can feel through the concrete. A woman with a scarf and house shoes pushes a card through a Sudoku and frowns. The door opens and a man drags out a bag. He clocks her without changing his face and loses interest with practiced efficiency. She takes the scrap of invisibility he gives and pockets it like change. The vent hiccups as a cycle ends and the air drops to merely not freezing. Her body tells her to wait for the next cycle. Her head says to go find the next vent before the decision gets made without her. She peels away and the cold finds the sweat it made and undercuts it. Shoulders spike with a hurt that feels like a punishment. She bites down and the ring grazes enamel. 1 sound. Not 2. Around the corner the wind picks up, trapped in a corridor of brick like a badly designed hallway fan. It shoves sleet against her front. She uses the buildings like a shield, walking their edges as if there's a rule about it, and maybe there is. The bus passes her going the wrong way and exhaling warmth through its doors for nobody. She watches the red lights trail off and makes herself not chase. She tries the next block, a Thai place with a grease fan. The heat is real but the smell coats her tongue and makes her jaw buzz. A bar with music hitting the glass in beats that don't match her steps. A church with a side door locked and a poster promising a soup night the wrong day of the week. The poster says Wednesday in cheerful font. Tonight is not Wednesday. The brain tries to be mean about it. She tells it to shut up. Paper doesn't hate you. Her fingers lose fine. The safety pin becomes a puzzle. She forces it through the hem of her cardigan anyway to make the sleeve hold. The rust leaves a ghost stain she can't see in this light but can smell faintly, a low iron tang that pulls at the part of her that likes iron too much. She knows that slope. She names it and then steps around it like an open hatch. At the campus edge the geometry changes. The sidewalk widens, pretending to be generous. Banners hang off poles with slogans that want to be about excellence and read like advertising. A campus map glows inside a glass case, a glowing rectangle that makes her eyes narrow. Cameras sit under the eaves like the eyes of insects, unmoving and stupid, always on. A maintenance truck sleeps in a rectangle of light like an animal in a pen, ticking heat as it cools. She measures the fences because fences tell the truth. The links shine wet, the bends have chipped paint. One gap at a post where the ground settled crooked. A line of trees behind, planted straight like soldiers. Beyond them, the roofline she knows without allowing the name yet. That name does things inside the ribcage she can't afford. Are we safe yet? Not yet. The thought arrives as reflex, as automatic as the ring wanting to tap twice. She leashes the tap and settles for thinking the answer instead of hearing it. She doesn't take the fence. The fence is a dare. Instead she follows the service road because it lies low and wraps the building instead of confronting it. The road has drains. The drains have heat in a dull way that means pipes moving in walls nearby. She puts her hands over a grate until her fingers sting. She tries to picture the route of the pipe by the flavor of the warmth, the way you guess where a cafeteria is by smelling fries 3 rooms away. Left turn, then up. She follows the fiction and finds a door flush with the wall with a black box set in at chest height. The box has a slit, just wide enough for plastic to slide and someone to decide yes or no. She tucks herself in the near corner where 2 walls make a mean little windbreak and kneels, then thinks better of it and crouches because standing up again might be an argument she loses. The seam at the bottom of the door glows the faintest orange into the wet, almost nothing, but enough to melt the sleet where it lands. She watches the droplets hit, flatten, and join into a clear line. The line grows. She fits the shape of her cheek next to it without touching the metal. The heat comes through her face bone first. It's small. It's a certainty. It steadies the shake in her jaw a notch. Not gone. Downshifted. Sleep drops a net from the ceiling of her skull that catches everything and tries to pull it down. She scissored her breath against it. In for 4. Out for 4. The numbers try to slip. She starts again. She names the things at eye level to keep the door from becoming a mouth. Paint scratch, 2 inches long, radius of a key ring probably, stray hair stuck in wet, brown. A dead gnat glued to the line of melt. The little notch where the concrete chipped during installation and nobody filed it. The tiny fleck of glitter ground into the seam that catches the LED light and becomes a star if you beg it. She does not beg it. She lets it be a dot. Footsteps in the belly of the building, somewhere above. The sound threads down the air duct and loses most of itself, so what reaches her is only a thud mapped to a pause mapped to another thud. She decides it's a cart or a custodian or a kid running and refuses to give it a face. Faces get you moving toward them. She is not moving. She is saving heat in a bank with bad rates. Her stomach complains in a clear, embarrassing way. She pushes a palm there and rubs like it's a bruise. The movement wakes a pocket of colder air under her skirt and she gasps, small and ugly. The ring wants to make 2 sounds. She stops it at 1. She checks the alley in her head like a security camera playback. The compressor, the vent, the bus, all still there on the tape. She adds this door to the map, tags it with the exact smell of the warm seam soap, tea, dust cooked off a coil. She files it where she can find it in a hurry later without thinking. The brain can be trained even when it's running on fumes. The lights in the hallway beyond the door shift a fraction. Not brighter. A change in color temperature, like a sensor noticed something and decided to exist more. She watches the seam to see if the glow answers. It doesn't. Are we safe yet? Not yet. The answer has a calmer edge when there's a wall that hums. She lets her head tip until it touches concrete, then lifts it away before the wet can wick. She never stays in contact long enough to soak. That rule has a scar attached. She doesn't need to look at the scar to know which one it is. Her hands stop hurting and start being hands again. The wave of relief that brings is almost worse than pain. It invites grief to come in and sit on the floor. She tells grief there's a cover charge and the till is empty. Try later. A bus breathes out at the far stop and a burst of warmer air rides the wind around the corner to brush her shin. It's nothing. It feels like a promise. She lets the feeling sit as long as a bus takes to close its doors, then opens her eyes on purpose and takes inventory again from scratch, not because she forgot but because repetition makes a shape you can stand inside. Phone dead. Bus card bent. Wrapper, star, pincus. Tee, cardigan, skirt, nets, knees. The sleet slows, not stopping so much as losing interest. The alley loses its hiss and goes back to drip. She raises her face a centimeter into the warm line and matches her breathing to the steady inside hum the way bodies match to metronomes without thinking. Are we safe yet? Not yet. The answer is unchanged. The body hears it and doesn't fold. That's the win she gets tonight. She closes her eyes for one count, opens them at two, and holds the line. The Konbini sits on the corner like a bright aquarium, all stacked colors and humming glass. The automatic doors watch the sidewalk and behave for everyone else. When she angles in, they sigh open slow, rubber seals kissing. A ribbon of heat pours out and she steps into it with both feet like a person would, because acting like a person keeps alarms asleep. The clerk looks up once. A tight sweep. He doesn't clock close or the shiver or the way she stands to the side of the camera. He clocks the sign. Closed, even though the cooler is burping noise and the register lights green. He touches the sign with two fingers like a cop tapping a ticket book. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't have to. The rule in her skull says don't be a problem. She backs out without a scene. Hands together, left over right, so she won't show teeth. The doors inhale, then seal her out. Heat cuts off. The cold finds the sweat she didn't mean to make and underlines it. She stands two breaths to make the body quit wanting to turn around and argue with a plate of glass. Then she moves. The laundromat is open in the way public rooms are open late, eyes half-lidded, music off, one TV throwing color at a ceiling nobody watches. She doesn't try the door. The door is for people lengthening nights with chores. She takes the vent. It sits at ankle height in the brick like a mouth that only exhales. Warm air stitches out in steady lines that lift the hair on her legs and make her fingers tingle awake in pins. She folds herself down into that lane, hunches so small that knees press elbows and ribs get counted. Bag-sized, not girl-sized. Breathing shallow. You can hold a shape like that for exactly as long as no one asks you to change it. A basket bumps her hip, plastic against fishnet, a scuff that says someone isn't looking and that's the best gift. The woman attached to the basket says, shoo, in the way you talk to pigeons, no malice, no curiosity, a broom sound you make with your mouth. The word moves the air enough to push the vent's heat off her skin. It's nothing. It's everything. She stands before the second syllable lands, because staying would make it a fight and fights are tense you can't tear down when you want to leave. The warmth paints her hip through the fishnet in one last stripe. She feels it cooling as she walks away, like leaving a scene with tape on it. She hates that the body remembers temperature like memory but not names. She hates that she understands why. The arcade spills neon out the side of a building onto gum-stuck concrete. The buzz from the sign throws a high noise that sits behind the eyes if you let it. She doesn't let it. She angles for the back exit because every back exit leaks. The leak here is weak, a line of warmer air sneaking out under a door that hasn't sealed flush in years. She tests the seam with her shins and nods to nobody. The environment says yes. That counts before any human gets a vote. The security guy steps into the doorway like he lives there, one hand on the jamb as if he's the door's hinge. He doesn't touch her. He clears his throat. It's the kind of sound men build at the start of a story where she's the problem, nothing on record, everything understood. He doesn't reach. He doesn't need to. That throat sound has a script behind it. Policy, liability, the part where she's in the wrong place just by having a body. She smiles because it used to work. The skin at the corner of her mouth cracks along an old scab. She tastes iron and pretends she doesn't like it. He doesn't smile back. He doesn't move. The door breathes warm against her calves like a pet she isn't allowed to touch. She steps away and the warmth loses interest. The security guy lets the door close the last half inch with a bump that sounds like a PRD. She wants to say thank you for not grabbing me. That's how low the bar is when the city's talking. She doesn't waste breath on a thank you sign nobody would read. She goes. The sidewalks get wider and emptier the later it gets. Snow sleet has switched to a fine, mean rain that doesn't commit, just keeps working. Her clothes accept it and give it back as cold. Street lamps make puddles look like holes. Her reflection in them is a scribble. She looks away because looking becomes thinking and thinking becomes sitting and sitting becomes the wrong kind of sleep. She rounds a block just to keep moving, to change the picture. Conbini again, this time in her peripheral. The closed sign faces the street like a grin. She doesn't test it twice. The rule list in her head has a line about pride. It stays short. A bus exhales at the far corner. She lifts on her toes and the warm breath slides past her knees. She almost steps into it and almost laughs at herself. Chasing exhaust for heat is how you end up in a story other people write. She watches it go and stores the sense of it the way you store passwords. Not in words, in the way your hands move when you type them. The laundromat again from the opposite direction. The vent gives a different note on this angle, louder where the louvers are bent. She could tuck back into it, make herself a bag again, ask to be ignored. The memory of shoe sits in the throat like a pebble. She passes without stopping because some no's add up to a bigger no you can read from half a block away. The arcade's back exit rings the concrete with an elastic thunk when it opens for someone else. The seam spills a quick band of heat out across the gum dots. She times her steps so it brushes her ankle as she passes, a cheap trick, and hates herself for how good it feels. The security guy has a new coffee. He doesn't clear his throat this time. He stares through her like the door would if it had eyes. She keeps her mouth closed so the ring won't tap twice. It taps once against a tooth as if to prove a point, and she smooths her tongue over it to erase the sound from the tape. Running count under breath to keep the brain in a corral. Exits 1 through 4. Conbini door, laundromat vent, arcade seam, the alley itself. The alley wasn't an exit on the way out, but it becomes the only number going back. The city said no 3 ways in a row, 3 tones, no escalation required. She takes the hint because hints keep you alive when rules change between corners. The dumpster is still sweating when she returns. The wet print on the metal remembers her shoulder. She fits herself back into it like a key into a lock that doesn't turn anything. The compressor's hum is thinner now, or her ears are worse. She doesn't argue with either. She puts her cheek near the panel and lets the cheap heat give her face bone back 1 degree at a time. Are we safe yet? The answer is the same. Not yet. She says nothing out loud. She watches the alley reassemble around her, the glass she stepped over, the paper sign curling on the pawn shop door, the way the sleet has turned to a fine, persistent drip. The count sits in her mouth like a prayer she doesn't believe in but knows by heart. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just the alley. Just the alley. Just the bolt that doesn't slide. Her hands stop pretending. Movement turns to pins, all at once, like her fingers woke up under a cheap massage chair and decided to riot. She tries to make a fist and only gets a claw, 3 fingers folding, 2 stuck halfway, nails showing their little moons. The beds are going purple, a slow bruise in 10 rectangles she can count. She rubs them together for heat and the skin catches where the nets have frayed into grit. The brain offers the memory of hot water and she deletes it before it finishes rendering. Knees report next. The right kneecap lights an old crescent, the scar waking under sleet like a notification ping, useless, attention-grabbing. That scar has a date, a name, a hallway, none of which she allows. The sensation is enough, surface heat lost, nerve endings turning the volume up to get seen. She lets the leg shake and doesn't try to boss it, fighting shakes makes them worse. She angles her stance so bone takes weight, not tendon. Her mouth tastes like coins again. Inside lips split on the canine, same DMN corner as always. Ring tap stings when she checks it. It's not a big cut, it's a map to a bad habit. Copper floods the tongue and drags humiliation up with it, old as lockers. Want rides behind it, small and mean. She presses the split with her tongue and holds until the salt takes over. That's the rule. If you're going to taste it, make it boring. Shivers start clean, good shivers, the useful kind that squeeze heat out of muscle and share it around. They run in waves from hip to jaw and reset her breath to a metronome she didn't set. She leans into the compressor panel until the hum buzzes her shoulder blade. The wave breaks. Calm for half a minute, enough to count coins again, enough to think she solved it. Then the next round hits, bigger, the kind that shake words loose and make teeth bite tongue without permission. She knows this pattern. Afterdrop lives in the trough. She pictures it like a graph with the line going the wrong direction, core cooling while the skin warms, a trick the body plays when it thinks it's done. She says no out loud to the alley, a small stupid sound, and pulls her face off the panel so she doesn't get fooled by the rectangle of fake warm. Cheeks run hot anyway. Not just windburn. Just embarrassment. A heat that doesn't make sense in this air. Her skin goes glassy over the bones and she feels the pressure in her sinuses like a valve half shut. Fever overlay old infection flirting with tonight, asking if now is a good time to come back. She rolls her shoulders to test for ache in the deep muscles under the shoulder blades. It answers with a shrug that says soon. She doesn't have soon to give. Her breath hisses out through teeth to lengthen the exhale and trick the heart into not sprinting. She audits paths. Hands, pins and slow blood. Knees, light on scar, limit range. Mouth, minor leak, manage. Core, shiver waves, escalating. Fever, possible. Decision tree shrinks. Stand, move heat, find a better vent, risk the next shoe. Or hold here, keep the windbreak, count to 200, then reassess. The brain loves plans. The body loves gravity. Gravity is winning. She drops into a half squat to compromise. Quads burn fast, burn is good. She sets her back flat against the sweating metal and uses it like a crude cold pack to convince the fever overlay to back off. 10 seconds on, 5 off, like icing a sprain, except backward. She time slices it in her head because she doesn't have a watch. At 7 the shiver wave tries to kick her feet out. She plants heels. The panel hum stutters when the compressor cycles. Her shoulder loses the buzz and she hates how much she had started to rely on it. She checks her nails because nails tell the truth. The purpling at the beds has crept a shade darker, but the cuticles still carry the thin line of pink where capillaries do their job. Not frostbite. Not that far. The skin on the back of her hand shows gooseflesh the size of salt grains. She presses the back of her knuckles to the inside of her wrist. The wrist feels like a cooler wall. Not a good sign. She shoves her hands under her shirt onto her ribs. The shock is clean pain. She holds through it and waits for her own heat to register. When it does, it's faint, but it's there, like a tiny radiator just remembered to turn on. She tests speech. Okay, she says, checking what the voice can still do. It comes out in a smaller register than she prefers, thinner, but it doesn't skip. The sound makes a cloud she can see, which is a luxury the parts of the city with heat eat your voice and give you your breath back wet. She doesn't want wet. She wants visible, countable. Another wave hits hard enough to shake her bad knee sideways. She leans into the wall until the contact steadies the joint, then peels away before wet soaks cloth and makes the cold heavier. That old scar announces itself again but doesn't grab the wheel. She lets it blink and pass. She pulls the star sticker off her palm because the skin under it is clammy and the adhesive has turned to slime. It brings the coin rings along, faint circles pressed into the lines. She sticks the sticker to the dumpster side at eye level. It holds barely. Cheap gold on wet paint. It looks ridiculous. She leaves it on purpose. If she falls asleep standing up, she wants something to open her eyes to that says get small again, get mean, make a plan. She presses her forehead to the crook of her arm to hide from the sleet for one breath, and the inside of her skull says a clear line she wishes she didn't recognize. If you sleep here, you will not wake here. It isn't drama. It's a label. She peels her face off her sleeve and nods once, to nobody. Message delivered. She files it under rules with the other ones you don't break because the bill comes due fast. The city keeps its noise at the edges. In here it's the compressor's tired hum, the drip off a sign, the shallow click of her teeth when she misses the ring with her tongue and it gets its two sounds. She mutters sorry to the air and hates that she's apologizing to Attell. Then she sets her hands back on her ribs, elbows clamped, and holds while the next wave arrives, ready to ride it without giving it the rest of her. The fever slides in sideways, polite at first, cheeks hot where the air can't explain it. Her thoughts loosen like screws you shouldn't have touched. The alley goes a little soft around the edges, like bad glass. She catches herself against the dumpster and counts the bolts on the panel to make the world click back into teeth. Palms open, he said. Tamura with the ragged hands that never stopped moving unless he made them. He had stopped once when she said stop. The memory is stupid clear, gray light, stale dust, her back against paint that flaked under her shoulder blades, his fingers hovering and not landing. Ask next time, he'd said, voice dry like he'd borrowed it. The sentence had felt like a door she suddenly owned a key to. She replays it now because the heat in her face keeps melting the edges of everything else. Her fingers twitch open muscle memory of that shape and the pins and needles argue back. Shiver wave. Breath stutters. She clamps hands under the T, ribs sharp and too cold under hot skin. 10 in 10 out. The compressor coughs and restarts. That buzz is a lifeline. She steps into it with her shoulder blade and pretends it's a machine built just for her. Another sentence arrives wearing a different mouth. DSPLN is care. AFO said it like a label on a bottle you should be grateful for. Hands that didn't shake. Paperwork that spelled consent but only ever translated to obedience. She can still see the bruise map like a blueprint, dots and lines where fingers had taught lessons. Her lip splits again on the canine when she swallows too hard. Tin leaks over the tongue and turns to bile by reflex. She spits into the sleet, neat, so it doesn't splash. She hates how tidy that is. A man laughs somewhere on the street and the sound worms down the block, too big for how little it is. Her bad knee flickers, that crescent waking under cold, and she shifts weight so bone stacks on bone. Don't fall. Falling is sleep in disguise. Dobby leaves only a jacket in her head. Not in order. Never in order. The coat was always warm even when he wasn't, a leftover heat that stuck to the lining like it knew how to keep. She didn't take it. She'd been trying to be sharp then. Sharp didn't keep her warm. The thought cuts clean and mean, and she flinches away from it like from a hot pan. Shiver wave again. Bigger. Her teeth knock the ring twice before she can stop them. The sound is a little bell she hates. Okay, she tells her own jaw, like you talk to a skittish animal. Okay. She presses face to the sleeve for one breath wet will smell, cheap dye and lifts off before the cloth can drain her heat. The alley leans, barely, like a ship turning. She tracks vertical by the drip line on the pawn shop sign. The drip is straight. She holds to that. Tamura's, ask next time, sits in her mouth next to FO's, isn't his care. The two sentences grinding like gears that were never meant to touch. The first felt like space. The second made doors that only opened inward, and always to a room where the windows were painted on. The fever pushes both closer until they blur, and she gets mad at her own head for mixing them like colors you can't separate once you get sloppy. She knocks the ring once, intentional, to reset the tape. Once is awake, twice is tell. She will not give the alley two. Conclusions stack out loud because the brain cheats, can't go back. The words fog and then smear away. Won't be forgiven. That one is quieter, the alley doesn't bother catching it. Won't be owned. It lands harder, a bolt tightened. She likes the weight of it. Still need heat. She hates the weight of that, but it's the truest thing she's said all night. Afterdrop lurks like a trick door. She can feel the pattern trying to set skin finds warmth. Core says cool now, we're done. She breaks it by moving. Half squats, slow calf raises, micro drills that don't advertise themselves to passing eyes. Quads burn. But the heat is hers, not alone. The phone in her pocket presses against her hip like a sad pet. She fumbles it out and its screen gives one static snow blink when she squeezes too hard, then nothing. Black glass throws her face back at her chopped, wet, mouth cracked. She angles the phone until the screen catches light from the Konbini sign on the corner. It makes a stage for a second. She could cry on it. She doesn't. The gold star sticker is still plastered to her palm, edges lifting, adhesive gone gummy. It's picked up the coin rings she pressed into it earlier, faint halos around the doll. She peels it slow, careful, because even doing this wrong would feel like losing. Water fights. The sticker strings. She keeps going until it comes off whole and sits between finger and thumb like a coin that means something. The thought spiral tries to drag her down another flight. Tamura's hands, AFO's forms, Dobby's coat on a chair she didn't take, and she cuts it with a physical cue. Breath in, out, ring tap once, elbow to knee, hold, release. The alley regains its edges 1 inch at a time. Metal, brick, puddle. She presses the star to the back of the phone. The plastic is wet and cold and the sticker should slide off, but she flattens it with her thumb and the adhesive sticks anyway. A dumb medal for not dying yet. That's what this is. She says it in her head without the joke voice. Not dying yet is a win. The star holds because sometimes small things choose you, not for merit, just because. The fever runs a hand over her skull from front to back like checking for horns. She blinks slow, then faster to beat the lull. Stay, she tells herself. Stay. It's not a plea. It's a command she can follow. The compressor panel thuds and whirs back into its tired hum, and she matches to it like a metronome. Her hands work again enough to move the phone into the inner pocket of her cardigan where the heat off her ribs might keep the battery from going full corpse. The star faces her now, secret metal hidden, glue learning her shape through the fabric. It makes the pocket tug wrong. She likes the tug. It's a reminder in the exact right place. The city coughs up another no, a cop car gliding slow at the far end of the block and not looking, but she doesn't test it. She keeps her eyes on the bolt heads she counted, the scrape in the paint she measured, the little strip of heat the panel leaks that's exactly the width of 2 fingers pressed side by side. If you sleep here you will not wake here. The sentence is carved clean now, no drama. She files it next to the other rules and stands inside them like scaffolding built overnight by invisible hands. She taps the ring once, a metered click. The phone with its idiot star presses warm against her ribs. The alley holds steady. The shiver wave crests and breaks, then leaves her not cold for 4 breaths, which is forever and also nothing. She builds a plan inside those 4 breaths. Walk when the next bus exhales, steal its heat on the corner, cut back to the seam by the service door she mapped earlier, take exactly 1 inch of warm and no more, reassess. The fever tries to make poetry out of it. She denies it and keeps to machinery, doors, vents, keys, timers. Her hand stays inside her cardigan, palm over the star, counting. When the bus sighs, she moves. The ring makes no sound. The metal sticks. The body obeys. Not safe. Not yet. But the ritual holds. And for now, that's the thing that keeps her standing. The cold has gone past teeth and skin into that flat place where she can't feel it right. Vision smears, edges double and slide. She keeps moving because stopping would write the ending in someone else's hand. If the League found her now. If All for One put a finger on her again. There's worse than death and she's memorized it. Leaving Tamura and Dobby still hurts in a way that scrapes bone, but pain is a tool if you hold it the right way. She keeps it in her pocket and uses it to stay vertical. Sound becomes the only compass that doesn't lie. From the northeast, a deep, even hum industrial, not voices. Not a bar. Not a bus. The kind of sound big buildings make when they're awake at stupid hours, fans moving air through square lungs. Buildings that breathe can be convinced to share. Decision math runs on the thin power she has left. Warm air plus cameras versus more sleet plus rats. Cameras see. Warmth saves. She picks warm plus cameras. Face down, hood up, what's left of it, teeth hidden. That's the plan. If a lens wants her, it can have the crown of her head and no more. She tells her legs what to do like they're new hires. Move, please. Quads answer slow, a grind in the gears before they catch. Knees scrape through the first step, ankles consider and then sign off. The second step is better. The third is almost normal if she doesn't grade on a curve. The skirt sticks to her thighs, wet cloth grabbing at skin every time she lifts a foot. The fishnet threads bite in, A pattern of tiny cuts she can feel through the numb, which makes them useful. Pain is data. Data is heat's cousin. She catalogs it to keep the head from slipping. Headlights skate over her and keep going. The city edits her out. Without malice. She's just a bad line of code that gets skipped in the loop. Don't fix it. Cars hiss a constant hiss along the curb. Water runs in the gutter carrying a yellow straw and a single red bead and someone else's night. She watches the bead wobble past a drain and disappear. Not her story. The hum pulls her around a blind corner where the wind loads up and pushes, a long bully shove that tries to lean her back where she came from. She leans forward at the ankles, makes her body a wedge, and keeps negotiating. Move, please, again, this time through clenched teeth because sound makes heat and she'll take the trade. A billboard above her beams down 3 heroes with jawlines like rulers. They sell courage at 40 feet tall with their chins tipped to the sky. She doesn't look up. She won't give them the dignity of her chin. They don't get to posture over her. Not tonight. The hum gets louder. The sidewalk under the lamps turns glossy. The next block wears construction fencing like a belt. She finds the seam where heat leaks through a service vent cut low into concrete, a dull rectangle coughing air that's a few degrees kinder than outside. She angles a shin across it while walking without slowing enough to make it obvious. Heat catches the wet hair on her leg and lifts it tiny proof. The building breathes in, breathes out. She matches it for 5 steps. Then 10. The world keeps asking the song's question, "Are you out of it yet?" And the sidewalk answers no in the only language it has: slickness, camber, little traps where water sits and waits for ankles. She edits her stride to avoid the worst parts, not because she cares about being dry, that ship sunk 2 hours ago, but because a rolled ankle is a sentence she can't serve right now. She checks the cameras without making eyes. One above a loading door on a swivel, red LED on, one under an awning, static, probably fake, one at the corner angled to the street, blind to the seam where she walks. Good enough. She cloaks with angle and shadow, keeps her head down so any machine that wants a face gets hair and hood instead. Her vision jumps again, double image, like the whole block shifted half a brick to the right. She blinks hard. It helps for 2 seconds. The fever has its hand on the back of her head, pressing, testing. She refuses to list. She aims for the sound and keeps her steps short so the drift has less runway. "Move, please," becomes a chant under her breath. She adds, "Don't stop," when her calves threaten to lock. The words fog and smear, then vanish. Let them do their job and go. A gust hits and shoves sleet into her ear. She jams a shoulder into the lee of a building and steals the shelter the architecture didn't intend to give. The hum is louder here, closer, almost a physical thing she can lean on. She pulls her hands into her shirt again and clamps them over ribs until the shock levels off, then out again so she can swing them, elbows stiff, to make heat on purpose. She passes a window bright with refrigerators, energy drinks lined like soldiers, sandwiches in triangles with their crust edges sweating. The closed sign faces the street. The register glows anyway. The clerk watches nothing on a phone. His head tilts once in a slow circuit and then goes back down. She keeps moving. The part that wants to press her face to the glass and beg can shut up and starve. Pride is a luxury but also a spine. She needs both. A cat shoots out from under a dumpster, sees her, decides she doesn't exist, and returns to its life. She almost laughs. It comes out as a breath with a crack in it. The crack worries her. Cracks are how things fail. She rolls her jaw to put the ring under her tongue and stop the tap that would become a bell if she let it. The hum resolves now into a specific machine. Big fans behind a grating, the low constant push of air over coil. Industrial HVAC, not a restaurant. Restaurants come with people who make you leave. HVAC just wants to move air and be boring about it. She angles to find the point where the leak is biggest without stepping into the camera's cone and plants there for exactly 4 breaths. It's enough to bring her cheeks back from glass to skin. Afterdrop tries to fake her out, warm skin, sleepy core, and she peels off before the urge to sit can even form a picture. Her feet have gone from wet to blocks of wood. She knows what that means and refuses to take inventory because naming it would give it a seat. She watches her step like she's driving someone else's car. Toe up. Heel down. Don't trip on nothing. When a patch of blacktop dips half an inch, she treats it like a curb. The failure available right now is simple. Slip, split your chin, go down. She will not audition for that outcome. At the corner, the bus exhales again. She times her crossing to catch the warm cloud in the crosswalk, and it finds her shins like a blessing you don't have to believe in. She stands a fraction taller for the span of a breath. Then the air returns to honest cold and she shrinks back to working size. Are you out of it yet? The world hums through the fans, a joke, a dare, a test. The sidewalk answers no with grit and angle, with cameras and blinds. But no keeps her honest. Yes would make her sloppy. She keeps the hum on her right shoulder and works the grid. 2 blocks forward, half left to dodge a camera, 1 block more toward the biggest breath. The fever keeps trying to tilt the board. She resets by counting bolts, by naming gutters, by stepping on the raised screws of manhole covers like buttons in a sequence she invents and sticks to because rules make a hallway you can walk down when your eyes won't focus. The pain that belongs to Tamura and Dabi, the one that is not useful, keeps knocking. She doesn't open the door. She slides the bolt her bolt, not AFOs, and uses the hurt for friction under her shoes. He told her, ask next time. Dabi left a jacket and no orders. Those things can live in the same pocket with the star on her phone. They can ride with her. They cannot drive. The hum peaks around the next turn. She takes it slow so the camera in the awning shadow has time to swing away. It does. Machines are predictable when you give them a pattern. The service side of the building opens up, no windows, 3 doors, 1 vent low and strong, 1 light dead, 1 light buzzing. She picks the shadow line that still sits on top of heat and stops there without looking like she stopped. A smoker's pause, a checking the phone pause, except her phone is a dead mirror with a gold star stuck to it. She touches the sticker through the cardigan, thumb finding its edge, and counts down from 20. When she reaches 1, she tells her quads, move, please, and they listen. Not safe. Not yet. But the compass is real. The building breathes. And she will make it breathe on her until the map in her head finds the door she means to use. She thinks she's going to die. The thought isn't big. It's small and flat like a label you peel and stick inside your mouth. Fear comes after it, late and huge. Her lashes are frozen into little fences, every blink pulls. Hair's gone stiff where the sleet turned to snow and stayed. Feet quit sending reports. Hands are just shapes at the ends of sleeves she can't move. She keeps walking anyway because stopping writes the ending in someone else's hand. The city hisses, turns the volume down, and then there's just the hum she's been following, steady and low, coming from the northeast like a ship you can't see. Service road. Salt ring on the asphalt like a bad halo. Tires hiss somewhere far, then don't. Chain link fence on the right with a line of damp leaves caked against it, brown glued to silver. The air here has a pattern, not kind exactly, but organized. She can live with organized. The outbuilding sits where the main wall steps back, boxy, practical, no windows. The hum is its heart. Vents on the side exhale visible warmth that pipes along the wall and turns to mist a foot out, a ghost that forgets it's real. Utility bars run above the service doors, not search beams, patient light, the type that doesn't panic. The place listens. That's the feeling. Like a cat in the doorway, head tilted, not sure if it will come when called. She aims herself at the vent seam and misses by an inch because the ground slides wrong under her. Tries again. Gets there on the second, breath breaking. She palms the grill. Heat kisses the knuckles so hard it hurts, and that pain is so bright she sobs, once, mad and ugly. The sound fogs the air and collapses. The second sob cues up and she swallows it because if the vent hears begging it might change its mind. Stupid. She does it anyway. Cardigan edge wet, heavy, she drags it up around her neck. It helps. She hates that it helps. The hate is warm for half a second. She takes that too. She tries to crouch, to make her body a small bag in the heat lane, the trick that works everywhere, and her hips refuse the math. Knees misfire. The world tilts. She misses the crouch and falls. Her head should crack the concrete, but her arm gets there first on muscle memory, She thuds onto her sleeve, not the ground. Lucky or trained doesn't matter. The sleeve smells like cheap dye and city and the inside of her own fear. Snow sifts now instead of sleet, softer knives. It collects fast on the metal edge by her face and melts where the vent breath hits it. The melt runs toward her cheek, stops at the heat line, and pools, a thin bright lip. She watches that lip wobble because her eyes can hold that much and no more. The building breathes. She times her inhale to it and fails. Tries again. Fails again. Her core gets that hollow cold you can't locate with hands. The good shivers have turned to big ones that take her jaw and make decisions without her. After-drop waits behind the next breath with a hand out like a fake friend. She flattens her palm to the grill. Skin sticks for a blink. She lifts, presses again, refuses to lose that small burn because it proves there's a line between her and the air. Nails show purple at the beds and the sight is both distant and embarrassing, like noticing you tracked mud onto a white floor you don't own. The lights don't change. Nobody bursts out of a door. No alarms. The school just keeps breathing, cat quiet, maybe watching. She imagines it deciding. She hates that she's imagining anything. Fever is a crook. It steals nouns first, turns them to soft shapes, then sells you pictures you don't want. She blinks hard, unhooks the picture, and sticks to parts. Bar, grill, bolts, missed. Her hands stop feeling like hands. She knows that should scare her. The fear arrives late again, but big enough to shake the thought cage. If the league finds her like this, if All for One touches her again, worse than death isn't a phrase, it's a room with the windows painted on. The image hits so clean she tries to stand on it like a floor. Her legs don't move. Panic crests and breaks and leaves nothing helpful. She drags her dead phone out because habit is stronger than sense. The gold star she stuck to the back has gone dull, wet. She presses it to her lip without meaning to and gets glue, grape ghost, and salt. The ring taps her tooth one clear tin note and the world jumps a frame. Black creeps in at the edges like a curtain pulled by someone bored. No, she says or thinks she says. Her mouth makes shapes. The vent breathes on her knuckles like a small animal. She would laugh if she had heat for it. She doesn't. Decision tree collapses. There isn't one. There is floor and there is door and there is hum and there is the big empty where warmth should live. She pushes the cardigan tighter. It sticks to her throat and the wet cloth feels like a hand. She doesn't give it that power. She names it cloth. She names the wall. Names the vent. Naming keeps the wolves out. That's the rule she made when she was 9 and it's never been wrong. She tries the crouch again with the part of her that still believes you can fix things by doing them smoother. The body misses again, just quits mid-move like a battery yanked. Head tips, sleeve catches, shoulder takes the rest. The ring kisses tooth. Tin, neat, like a seatbelt buckle. Black comes in fast then. Not dramatic. Just a switch. She wants to say Tamura's name. She wants to say Dobby's. The words stick because names make promises and she can't afford to call anything that might answer. Something older than names slips out instead, tiny and stripped of teeth. Please, she says to the air, to the vent, to the cat of a building that hasn't decided. And then nothing. The patrol is muscle memory. Service road, outbuilding, fence line, back to door. Keys quiet in his palm. Scar flow. Thermos in one hand, steam like a small engine. Breath fog, 4 counts in, 4 out. Not meditation meter. Home rides along the edge of the route. Aries' handwriting folded in his pocket from earlier, remember to eat, a doodle of a cat. Hitoshi's last text. Night run? Patrol, then B. Mick's voice in his head doing a low-volume play-by-play of nothing because silence gets sharp at this hour. He adjusts the thermos, feels the heat against his knuckles and thinks of Aries' habit of setting cups where people will find them. Systems. House runs because the people do. Snow started 10 minutes ago. Softer than sleet, sneakier, hides ice, quiets mistakes. Salt ring bleaches the asphalt by the last bend. A tire hiss somewhere far. Chain link with leaves pasted to the bottom, brown against wire like old tape. He listens to the building. Fans steady, load normal. Utility bars hum patient over the service doors. He likes it when the school behaves like a well-kept machine. Then the wrong sound. Metal settles one way, a body settles another. He hears the difference the way you hear a relay click that shouldn't. Weight going down with no plan to get up. He angles toward the vent instead of the walk. Years of strays make that choice for him. First glance, a shape curled in the exhaust lane, snow dusting hair, sleeve where a head should have cracked concrete. He stops at a distance built out of bad nights, eyes doing the fast math threat. He looks for tells. No stance. No watch. No accomplice breath in the corners. Not a villain waiting. Closer. It's a kid. Girl. Bare arms in snow. Hoodie soaked under a cardigan that isn't fighting for her. Bite marks pale on both knees, old and clean, fresh bruises stacked over older maps. One knuckle split, dried brown. Jaw skewed a hair wrong. Left wrist swelling under a cheap bracelet. Scalp at the temple clotted down one side. Blood mixed with sleet into a pink wash at the hairline. Breath shallow fast, already rolling toward shallow slow. Purple at the nail beds. She's passed out. Good less panic to fight. Bad no help from her side of the line. He files the shock and then throws it away. The decision lands clean. She's his now until she isn't. Care is the job. He doesn't speak her name, he doesn't have it. He doesn't waste a greeting into the snow. He sets doctrine in order and does it. Thermos down. Kneel. Hands around her palms to backs make a heat cup and breathe into it. 10 in through his nose, 10 out into her fingers. No rubbing. Pins are coming, pins are proof. Coat off one-handed, lay it like a barrier over hoodie, not instead of. Wet under warm is better than bare under warm. Scarf becomes a sling under her arms, cross-chest, so he can lift without pulling her wrists. He checks the jaw with 2 fingers clicks wrong. He supports, doesn't test it again. Eyes track light when he tilt tests lid sluggish. Pupils not blown. Fever sheen on cheeks that the air can't explain. Infection old, flirting with tonight. Mike, he says into the quiet, not loud. The building carries sound. Bay 2. Socks. Towels. Quiet. He knows Mike is close on loop, he doesn't look away to see. Hitoshi will already be a shadow at the nearest door, that's how he works. He slides her hands into his coat pocket with the thermos so she breathes steam, not cold. He watches her face, not a stopwatch, for too much. Jaw clatter, strong good shiver wave. He times his lift between peaks. Cold coming, he tells her anyway, out of habit. Then, up. No count out loud. He moves on too. One arm under knees, one under shoulders. Keep the angle low, head steady, no bounce. She weighs nothing and too much at once. Snow gathers on the back of his fingers and melts. He ignores it. He keeps his keys in his right hand with the coat draped over her, lets them clack once when he stands. Her eyes don't open, but her lashes twitch. The sound file's clean as safe even half under. He will use that again. Path in. He steps the line that keeps her out of the camera cones and the glare. Door. Chain off, open to a hand's width, bleed warm slow. No blast. Shock will fake the core into dropping. He won't let the building be cruel by accident. Inside smell. Soap, tea, dust cooked off a coil. He matches his breath to the fans so she hears one rhythm, not 2. He shifts the scarf sling so it isn't choking her when the heat changes. He resets his coat over her shoulders so the wet cloth under it doesn't touch her neck. Barrier matters. Mike ghosts up behind him with a towel and those ridiculous cloud socks Eri bought for emergencies that need ugly. Aizawa doesn't smile at the thought. He takes the towel, folds it once, sets it against the back of the girl's neck to warm carotids without roasting skin. He tucks the socks into his pocket. Shoes are a later problem, but he wants them ready. Hitoshi is already a hinge at the hall turn, eyes on corridor, body making space without words. He checks wrists left swollen, possible distal radius. He stabilizes with his forearm as he carries so it doesn't swing. Right shoulder shows an old sublux pattern. He doesn't test it. He notes the bruise constellation's finger widths on upper arms that don't belong to tonight. He notes the bite moons on knees and files anger as fuel for later. Now is warm, airway shock. He watches for afterdrop, her skin warming under his coat, breath slowing wrong. If the lull hits, he will pace her, movement without jostle, heat applied at core points, no hot drinks, no baths, no rookies. He lists the rules in his head as if Eri were reciting them back in a quiz. She get a sticker for it. He keeps his face flat. Bay 2, he repeats low. Lights at half. Mike peels ahead to do it. Hitoshi cracks the door to clear the corner. The key clacks again as Aizawa palms it, small sound, consistent, the kind a house makes when it's safe on purpose. Her mouth relaxes a fraction. That's the first win. He steps through and the door closes behind them with the soft magnet kiss he likes. Steam from the thermos warms the small tent of his coat around her face. He adjusts grip, checks breath. Shallow but steady on his count. He files that as baseline and moves like a metronome. No speeches. No savior shape. Doctrine only. Announce cold, bleed warm slow, cover wet, sling under arms, hands in heat cup, support the break, watch the face. The rest names, police, forms, the long quiet work of undoing a bruise map can come after this girl stops losing heat in his arms. He will not let her down. He turns the corner, steady, and the building breathes with him. Mike meets them at the service door, towel in hand, voice already turned down. He leans just enough to see her face under Shuta's coat. The hair, the mouth, the blood at the temple. His breath catches. Is that Toga? Shoyuta doesn't slow. Doesn't matter, Zashi. Mick's mouth closes on the rest of the question. He looks again, bare arms in snow, purple. Nail beds, old bite moons on both knees, jaw a little wrong, breath shallow under borrowed steam. He swallows. Nods. Yeah, you're right. Look at her, it doesn't matter. Bay 2, half-lights, Shoyuta says. Mike is already moving. Hitoshi takes the corner, door cracked, eyes up. Keys clack once in Shuta's hand. The girl's lashes twitch toward the sound like a plant finding sun. Mike falls in beside them, towel ready. No more names. Just work. The bed is already warm from the blanket heater Mike yanked out of the cabinet on reflex. She's in it now, hoodie still on under Shuta's coat, towel at the neck, cloud socks up over rip tights. Steam from the thermos tents the air around her face. She's out cold and talking. Not words at first, broken sounds, throat scraped. Then, don't touch me, slurred and mean with fear. Please, no more. Over and over she reaches for one name like a handhold. Tomu. Sometimes it comes out clean. Sometimes it hits the back of her teeth and smears. Mick's got comms at his shoulder, volume turned down to house. Soup on, he tells whoever's on night kitchen. Towels hot. Door open on staff side. He doesn't look away from her face when he says it. Somewhere deeper in the building, the cat yowls once like roll call. The house answers by doing exactly what it's told. Shoyuta is doctrine in motion. Left wrist stabilized with a soft wrap, swelling says crack until proven otherwise. Jaw supported with folded gauze at the angle, tape not touching hair. He checks pupils again, quick, pen light low, sluggish but not blown. Fever sheen sits wrong on her cheeks. He files antibiotics under later. He slides a heat pack under her armpit where it will hit core without roasting skin. He monitors for the afterdrop, skin warm, core trying to quit. He paces the room in slow lines to keep his own heat steady so his hands don't lie when they touch her. Mike leans in, towel ready, eyes glassy in a way he hates showing. He lowers the edge to wick off melt from her hairline, gentle, small movements. He sees the old bite moons on both knees, the fingerprint bruises layered with tonight's damage, and his throat does a tight click. He swallows back down. He looks at Shoyuta because there's nowhere else to put it. She JRS in the blankets like the body remembered a hallway. Don't, and then Tomu, pleading this time, a small sound that shouldn't have to be small. Shuta's face doesn't move. His hands get even calmer. He adjusts the sling of the scarf under her shoulders so the coat doesn't press her throat. He tucks the corner of the warm towel closer to her ear to kill a draft. He checks the respiratory rhythm, still shallow, still there. On his way back from the cabinet, he shoulder opens the service door just enough to let the corridor's heat wash in. It meets the room's warm like a tame animal that knows him. He sets a key card on the shelf near her cheek, visible, not forced into her hand. Information, not demand. It clacks soft on wood. Even half under, her lashes twitch toward the sound. The file named safe gets another line without either of them saying it. Mike is beside himself and trying not to be obvious about it. He stands where she can see his face first if she surfaces wrong. His voice is a blanket at low volume. "Hey, Star," he says, barely air. "You're indoors. Bad night's over here now. We got it." Shoyuta plants himself at the bedside like a door that won't fail. "You're safe," he tells her, even if she can't hear it. "We'll talk after you're warm." It's not a promise for later, it's an instruction to the room now. Her jaw, which has been chattering like a misfiring relay, stops for one counted breath. Shoyuta watches that breath happen, clocks the color in her mouth returning a half shade, checks the heat pack with the back of his fingers, and nods once, permission to nobody to keep going. Darkroom. Door cracked an inch. Heat from the hall cuts a thin line across the carpet, ruler straight from threshold to bed. In the gap, a white cat's tail, tip, black belt around the belly like someone buckled it wrong. First breath fogs less than last night. Second doesn't fog at all. A folded scarf sits at the foot of the bed, clean wool, edges square. Promise-shaped. She stays still the way you do for a camera you don't trust. Listen first. Map it. Well, laundry. Miso out there somewhere, soft. Humidifier thrum, cheap transformer hum under it. A plug-in timer ticks, lamp on at dusk kind. Cotton sheets, not hospital crisp. Blanket is weight, not trap. Heat reads like wall radiators, not a vent. Body check. Fingers ache from the rewarm, they flex slow. Fever glaze behind the eyes, but the pulse isn't clawing up her throat anymore. Left rib sore, lifted wrong, corrected. Jaw hinge clicks once. Mouth split, tastes like pennies. Neck fine. Left wrist wrapped, soft. Someone did it while she was out. Deep breath, doesn't bite. Alarming in a good way. She slips her eyes open a sliver. Dark +1 nightlight down the hall. Guest room. Spare dresser with 2 drawers, cracked a finger, empty rails. One plant on the sill, sturdy leaves, not staged. Keys hang on a hook by the door, visible, reachable. A hoodie on the chair, hers, dried and still warm like it lived on a radiator. Under the chair, a sterile kit bag parked where you can see it and say no. Tool, not threat. Door math. Bed to door 7 steps steady, 10 if not. Hall window with simple latch. Baseboard vent useless for anything but heat. Throwables, ceramic lamp, will explode. Steel thermos, ideal. Humidifier, sloshy, pass. 2 blanket folds that could catch an ankle. She lifts a corner and frees them. Better. Voice test, smallest whisper. Don't be loud. Stretch. Existing. She reaches for the hoodie, realizes the grab will leak heat if she misses, stops. Stillness wins. The blanket is a hand on a scared dog's shoulders. Steady. The cat hops onto the blanket like it owns the air. All white except the wrong way belt. 2 needs through 2 layers, then it parks with its back to her like a guard pretending it's off duty. She twitches. It slants a glare that says she broke a rule no one explained. This isn't a clinic, she tells the ceiling. The ceiling minds its business. No ultraviolet headache. No bleach. House lighting, warm edges, patient. The clean here is laundry and tea. The only metal is the split in her mouth. She risks one hand into the air. It bites, then doesn't. Scarf over shoulders, careful of the wrap. Will holds heat like it's supposed to. Relief burns behind her eyes. Don't you? She tucks the scarf ends so they won't brush her throat. The cat's ears go half-mast, then settle when she settles. It breathes. She matches 3 cycles, not because she needs a metronome, because shared rhythm proves the place won't bite. The humidifier keeps buzzing like a cheap engine someone set and walked away from. That's how you know it's for you and not for show. Eyes adjust. Dresser top, folded towel, sealed saline, a tissue box. No tray. No locked drawer. Nail holes with nothing hanging, used, emptied, used again. Guest space. Teacher housing. If she believes the miso, the plug strip, the paint on the baseboards like a person did it on a weekend. Her shoulder remembers being carried for 1 frame. Then nothing. Pull the wire again. Weight shift. A quiet voice that leaves air for hers. Warm your hands. Up on 2. Labels, not orders. She puts that away. No digging. Gifts have teeth sometimes. Her stomach smells the miso and says, "Hey, idiot," loud. She palms it. Laugh snags the split and stings. Not dead. Okay. Flat. She sits up slow. Tests the left wrist against gravity. Loses. Returns the arm to the bed. The blanket follows like it knows her. The cat shifts 1 inch and declares the situation acceptable. She runs the alley inventory anyway and feels stupid and safe at once. Keys hang where the hall glow can find them. She likes that they're visible. Hates that she likes it. The hoodie is her thing made better and handed back. The kit bag is plain honesty. Here if you need it, easy to step around if you don't. Rules without speeches. Rules you can see. Didn't invite you, she tells the cat. It blinks, bored, and stretches one paw until it touches her thigh through the blanket. Test pattern contact. She doesn't move. The paw stays. Eats as proof. Jaw threatens another chatter. She sets the teeth gentle and waits. No crash. Fever sits in her sinuses like a slow leak. The fist behind her eyes loosens 1 notch. Ribs ease into the mattress. Shoulders drop a centimeter and the bed catches them like it planned to. Down the short hall, a pan moves without scraping. A low voice says something she can't catch. Doesn't need to. Timer ticks. Humidifier hums. The cat breathes and even pushes white engine, black belt. She palms the bed edge, counts exits again out of habit, not fear, door, hall, window latch, baseboard vent. Nothing shifts to trap her. The door holds that exact inch. Deal struck. Here's your line to the hall. We won't shut you out. You don't have to bolt. She talks into the scarf, tasting wool and borrowed soap. Okay. Just that. The house doesn't lean in. The hoodie's turned inside out so the soft side will hit her skin. She clocks the move and files it under competency with the small sharp ache saved for later. Soft is later. Now is not running. She chooses not to. Good hand under the blanket, dead phone in the cardigan pocket. The gold star on the back peels a little. She presses it down. Right, she tells it. Still here. She looks at the keys, the clean plant leaves, the scarf, the timer's red notch set to break the dark before dawn. The room breathes. She breathes back. She stays still on purpose. Not a freeze, a choice. Blanket warms in layers. Cat parks like punctuation at her knee. The heat line from the hall waits, straight as chalk. When she moves, she'll take the short hall toward miso, because miso isn't a threat word and whoever folded her hoodie knows how to set towels hot without theater. Not yet. 1 more minute inside the quiet. 1 more count in a house that isn't charging for it. She tips her head into the pillow, watches the cat's ears for betrayal, lets her jaw go 2 clicks. Safe feels fake until it doesn't. The room proves itself without saying a word. The knock is soft. Not cop soft. How soft? The door stays cracked an inch, then 2. He leans into the gap, eyes level with hers. Keys already off his belt so they won't do the nerve glass jingle. Clean hoodie, sleeves shoved to forms. Band tee under it like he forgot to pretend. Hair tie back. Scarf looped like it lives there. Thermos in one hand, folded washcloth in the other. Voice set to late night radio. Neck'll be warm, he says. Washcloth first. I'll say where before I touch. Her brain throws goggles and dry ice smoke over him anyway. Eraserhead should be rope and glare and a headline, not a man with sleep on his face and a cat tailing him like punctuation. The rasp betrays her. She coughs. Is this a prank? Where's the camera? No cameras, he says like he's reading off a shelf. I hate them in my house. I'm Aizawa. She looks at the hoodie, the thermos, the cat hopping down and circling his leg like it pays rent. Your eraser, she says because the shape fits. He steps in once, sets the thermos on the dresser, glances down the hall. Pan hiss, a spoon taps twice, mic humming with the volume turned off. Miso sharpens in the air. Mix cooking, Aizawa says. Door stays open. He doesn't fill the room. He takes a thin slice of it like weather present, not a glare. He waits a breath. She doesn't bolt. He nods like that counted. You don't have to talk, he adds. Blink if it's too much. She wants to say that's a line for scared kids, not villains. She doesn't. The cat jumps on the bed, shoots her one annoyed look, then parks against her knee like it owns the spot. The weight tells her the truth better than speeches. He brings the washcloth up where she can see it. Steam curls. Back of the neck, he says. Pressure and heat. Not hot. Her shoulders try to flinch. She tells them no. He folds once more and lays it just under her hairline. Steady. Not the throat. Warm slides straight to the carotids and spreads honest. Her eyes sting. She gets a laugh out of her nose that almost counts. 5-star spa. Towels are fresh, he deadpants. That's the star. No hostage small talk. He runs a checklist out loud in a cadence her brain can ride. Neck. Adjusts. Forearms next. He rubs his palms together to heat them, then runs them down the outsides of her forearms over the blanket pressure without friction, the kind that tells muscle where to land. Left wrist stays wrapped. His eyes flick there. Jaw after food. Food, she repeats like it's a new word. Mix spoon taps twice again. A cupboard shuts without a bang. House timing, not institution. Aizawa angles his body so he's never between her and the door. Keys stay pocketed and quiet. When he moves, metal clicks once and quits. Her shoulders drop on their own. This is a bit, she. Eraserhead doesn't wear band shirts. Laundry day, he says. And Aizawa's cheaper to feed. He lifts the cloth, refolds it, sets the warm center back. He watches tension leave, not her face. Humidifier ticks over. The cat kneads twice into her thigh, then goes statue. She resists apologizing to it for existing. He keeps the narration small. Turning the cloth. Does it? Forearms again. Does it? Door stays open. Leaves it. Boring in the way that works. No frosting. Just parts. Where's the costume? She pushes, because the part that refuses needs a bone. Closet, he says. Not useful here. He nods at the scarf at her shoulders. That is. Keep it. She rolls a word around that isn't thank you and isn't why. Settles on, this isn't a clinic. It's a house, he says. Kitchen left. Couch right. Keys by the door if you want another look. He doesn't gesture. He doesn't sell it. Mike drifts into the hall's edge, not entering, steam and smile, both low. Soup is contractually delicious, he whispers. Also, Sushi says hi with his whole butt. The cat flicks its tail like a signature. Aizawa trades cloth for thermos, cracks the lid so a ribbon of steam slips into the narrow air near her mouth. He parks it on the dresser, not in her hands. Breathe, he says. Jaw after salt. She studies him midnight under the eyes, hair trying to escape, the posture of someone who woke up early and will stay that way until the job's done. Eraserhead sits stupid next to that. Aizawa lands easier. You're still Eraser, she mutters, pride taking one last swing. I'm Aizawa here, he says, naming the room, not arguing. He checks skin, resets heat. Then soup. Then couch. She blinks once on purpose. The washcloth pushes cold out of her scalp like a plug. Something in the kitchen pings done. Mike says, copy, to nobody. The cat sighs at the universe. Hall light draws its line and stops where it should. She lets the room be what he called it. Lets him run the boring play. Keeps the word eraser behind her teeth until it stops feeling like armor and starts feeling like a headline for somewhere else. The steam drifts. The soup smell edges closer. Her throat risks one more joke. 3-star spa, she rasps. Soup bumps it. Generous, he says, still midnight. We'll try to earn it. You cook, she pushes, because if she doesn't fight she sinks. What's next, you're gentle? You knitting me a sweater? Should I call you Dad? I would fail at sweaters, he says. Airy knits. Soup's closer. Fresh cloth, practiced hands. Neck again. She flinches before it lands. He doesn't apologize, he lets steady win. Heat tells bones where to be. She hates that it works. Loves that it works. contradiction makes her mouth snap. I don't say thank you, she warns. Bite with no jaw. Okay, he says. Not a trap. He adjusts the cloth. Breathe. She wants to climb the wall. She wants to scratch him like a bad cat. She wants to ask why his voice is midnight and not interrogation. She wants to steal the keys just to prove she can. She does none of it. She breathes. Easier than not. Mike ghosts into the doorway, doesn't cross the threshold. Steam curls around his grin. Soup is legally soup, he whispers. Cat says stop touching his blanket, it's his now. You bribed the cat, she accuses, because it's easier than saying the soup towels humidifier keys thing helps. The cat bribed me, Mike says and fades back to the stove. Aizawa turns the cloth, checks her cheekbones for fever glass, files something behind his eyes. Jaw after salt, he repeats. Then couch. You keep saying couch like it's a place and not a trap. It's a place, he says. Nap approved. Heroes don't nap. You've met the wrong ones. He folds the cloth clean and sets it aside. His hands go to her forearms again through the blanket, same steady downstroke that tells muscle to knock it off. Door stays open, like mentioning weather. She hunts his face for the angle pity. Hero glitter finds tired, patient, a guy who's been awake too long because somebody needed him. Eraserhead looks dumb on that. Aizawa sits down next to the cat and refuses to move. Her mouth goes feral to hide the heart rate. If you try to tuck me in, I bite your fingers off. Then I won't tuck you in, he says. I'll hand you a bowl and move a blanket within reach. Hate that, she says, meaning the safety. Heat fever insult of help sting her eyes. She picks a mean line and swings. You look like a raccoon that lost a fight with a laundry basket. Laundry won, he says calm. It usually does. He gives the thermos lid another half-turn. Long breath. She obeys before she notices. Steam catches on the split, salt will help. She hates that he knows the rule and she does too. You keep calling yourself Aizawa, she says into the heat. I'm not going to stop calling you Eraser. You can call me what you need, he says. Food in 1 minute. She stares like he's an equation that won't break. The cat butts her knee, then flops with its back to her like she's not worth watching. She gives up half an inch to the pillows, mutters, fine. 3-star spa. Soup decides the fourth. We'll try to earn it, he says, say midnight. He gathers the cloth, stands, and leaves the door exactly 2 inches open on his way to the kitchen. No trap. No theater. Just weather. She scrapes the bowl like she can file the hunger flat. Scarf up to her nose. Cat doing surveillance from the chair. I'm going to call someone to check you out now that you're awake, Aizawa says from the kitchen, same radio voice. She's a doctor. Okay. Her head tips like a feral animal hearing a trap. You're asking me? Of course. The yes happens in her neck before her mouth approves. She nods small and the agreement scares her. She bites the split, tastes pennies. Scarf up to her eyes. Whatever, she adds, teeth on it. If she brings needles, I'm biting. She brings candy, Mike whispers, bribing the air. And a clipboard. Hate clipboards. Aizawa is already dialing. Chio, he says when it picks up, I need one no questions favor. A tiny pause, old friends, a schedule. God damn it, Shota, recovery girl sighs. I'm on my way. Collins. No drama. He sets the phone face down by the rice cooker like another appliance doing its job. Mike pretends to fuss with bowls and is actually counting her blinks between sips. The house comes into focus. A little girl's laugh behind a door, a teenager's low answer footsteps that come close and turn, kitchen as the line. I can hear your whole life, she says into. The scarf. Good, Mike says. Then you know it's boring. Boring is the point. Your apron is a hate crime, she adds, because if she doesn't scratch, she'll soften. Thank you, Mike whispers, preening. They don't step closer. They just stay at the right distance. Pan off, lid on, spoon down, towel folded, keys visible. Metronome house. Time shrinks and stretches in soup steam. 10 minutes gets a pulse when you count it. The door clicks like it took off its shoes. Small footsteps. Sure. Recovery girl appears with a bag and a clipboard older than the paint. She can't loom. She beams a little. It reads as diagnosis, not charm. I'll be quick, she says, pen already in hand. Nosy about vitals. I leave candy. Clipboard's judge. Himiko says, side-eye over scarf. This one's old, Chio says. I'm not. Sleep later. Bag goes where Himiko can see the zipper, the candy, the gauze. Nothing sneaky. Penlight. Pupils. Light coming in. Blink if you hate me. Hate you, Himiko says anyway, and blinks because clear instructions work on her even when pride doesn't. Good blink. Quick. Temp, Chio says, pops an ear thermometer like a toy beep, nod. Listen, stethoscope warmed between her palms before it touches hoodie. 2 breaths, 3. Again. Tap not press. She listens, nods. Jaw. Soft touch near the angle, eyes on the face, not the bruise. Eat first, then we'll see. She clocks the bruises without making them a story. What's tonight, what's not. Eyes flick to the rice cooker like it has credentials. The house knows what it's doing. We pretend, Mike says pleased. Language stays clean, mechanical. You're dehydrated, Chio says, tearing 2 ORS packets, sliding them near the water like setting screws by a hinge. You're not dying. Sleep is medicine. If the stomach flips, we go for. Otherwise soup, water, bathroom, bed. You keep saying bed like it's not a trap, Himiko mutters. Bed is a tool, Chio says. Traps have springs. Gross, Himiko says, which means she heard it. Mouth split will heal, Chio adds, peering like a jeweler, not a judge. Rinse after soup. Don't pick. If you do, I'll scold you and then fix it anyway. You're threatening me with kindness, Himiko says, suspicious. Scarf higher. Yes, Chio says, cheerful. It usually works. She presses a wrapped lozenge into Himiko's palm like a stamp. Ginger. It thinks it's brave. Mike melts 5 degrees in the doorway, apron lightning bolt catching the light. Aizawa is a fixed point across the table, counting numbers, not narratives. Mouth color, breathing rate, tremor fade. Chio taps her clipboard like a metronome. I like numbers better than shame, she says, writing. Yours are improving. That clipboard looks judgy, Himiko says again, because she needs the bite. It's old, Chio deadpants. I'm not. Sleep. She tucks a small sheet under the ginger on the counter, 3 big bullets. If the bad feeling spikes, 1, water or lozenge, 2, hands on warm pack, count to 60, 3, say out loud what room you're in. No morals. Just switches. A cartoon bat sticker grins in the corner like it got its license from a vending machine. Bat's ugly, Himiko says. Agreed, Chio says. He's confident. She wraps the rice cooker. Keep this on warm. And keep him, chin to Aizawa, from napping with his eyes open. He does that. No promises, Mike says. I'll sit on him. You'll talk him to sleep, Chio says, shouldering her bag. One last check on Himiko. Orientation, color, the scarf worn like armor. You did hard things. Now easy. Things. Soup, water, bathroom, I'll be back if you make that face again. She points at the bad face Himiko isn't making, earns a grudging snort, and clicks out the way she came house off door. Silence returns with a cat in it. Sushi jumps onto the counter, inspects the bat sticker, decides it's beneath him, flicks his tail at the salt tabs to reassert the law. Aizawa slides water closer. Bathroom's left, he says. Take the scarf if it's a fight. She glares because he clocked the fight and decided to let her bring it. I'm not afraid. Metal taste. Okay, he says. Just that. He doesn't call the lie a lie. He doesn't pet it either. Want me to call her again if you change your mind? You're still asking, she says, accusation more than awe. Of course. The nod happens in her throat again, traitor. She bites it, tastes pennies, hates that anyone can see red on her lip. Scarf eats half her face. Fine, she says, which is yes again. But if she brings seaweed, I'm suing. Mike salutes with the ladle. Court remains in session. The house hums. Keys wink dull on the hook. Down the hall a little girl laughs tag, 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 and a teen answers in a low current. They don't come closer. Nobody takes the scarf back. Aizawa has that quick, unfair grin again. She tucks the wool higher and fakes a scowl. Legs might listen if told. Soup works. Numbers work. Boring works. She hates it. She sips anyway. Recovery girl blows in like weather coat half on, bag thumping, eyes already scanning. She talks before the door stops. Shota Aizawa, she says, you cannot keep picking up strays at midnight and calling it a healthcare model. The voice judges. The hands are already moving. Clipboard down. Bag open. Gloves on. Short, sure, efficient. She was freezing, Aizawa says. Bare arms in snow. Obviously, Chio mutters, laying out saline, swabs, wraps. And obviously you carried her in instead of calling so I could meet you with a heater. Tongue click. Then to Himiko, softened, hi, kid. I'm Chio. I talk too much when I'm worried. I'm quick. Himiko bunches under the scarf. Suspicioned hunger, the relief she won't name. Quick is fine, she says. No speeches. No speeches, Chio agrees. Vitals, then fix. Penlight she warns first. Light. Pupils track. Ear thermometer beeps. Stethoscope warmed in her palms, touches hoodie. Deep breath. Again. Listen. Frown. Ral's low right. Gloves snap once. She peels back the hoodie cuff. I'm looking at the wrist. The wrap is neat. She nods at Aizawa without looking away. Good. Likely distal radius hairline. Splint after. 2 fingers near the jaw angle, no pressure. You took a hit? Not tonight. And these? Her eyes skim the older map finger with shadows on upper arms, pale bite moons at both knees. Silence stretches. Himiko swallows. No one else bit me. It hangs. File it, don't push. Aizawa and Chio trade a flat look. Chio disinfects what needs it. Quick, clean, businesslike. You'll feel a sting. She wraps the worst bruising too. Stabilize swelling. X-ray tomorrow if I can steal a machine. Tonight, keep you warm and breathing. She steps back, takes the whole picture. Fever's high. Borderline hypothermia. You're lucky you didn't lose fingers and luckier Shota got you inside. She points her pen. You should thank him. Himiko's face flickers. The word punches her ribs. Pride sits on it. I'll eat more soup, she manages. Do both, Chio says, letting it go. Quirk now, Aizawa asks low. After I set lanes. Chio palms a candy under the scarf. For later. Airway, breathing, circulation. Satisfied. 2 fingers to temple, 2 to splinted wrist. Healing lands and short, targeted pulses swelling eased, bones nudged, the angriest bruises cooled from fresh to old. Ache loosens, fatigue drops in. Chio stops before the tank empties. No heroics. Enough to keep pneumonia from sprinting. Mike lets out a breath he'd been hoarding. Candy doctor strikes again, he says quiet. Chio listens again. Nods. Better air movement. Still crackles. She tapes a tiny temp chart to the fridge and circles a number. Call if she spikes above this. If the stomach flips, for. Otherwise, soup, water, bathroom, bed. She meets Himiko's eyes. Mouth split will heal. Rinse after soup. Don't pick. If you do, I'll scold you and fix it anyway. Threat noted, Himiko mutters. Good. Chio sets a half-page sheet on the counter. If the bad feeling spikes, 1, water or lozenge, 2, hands on warm pack, count to 60, say the room out loud. No morals. Just switches. A cartoon bat grins in the corner like it bought its license from a vending machine. Bat's ugly, Himiko says. Agreed, Chio says. He's confident. 2 fingers squeeze Aizawa's shoulder thanks and scold in one. Sleep in shifts. Don't let her cook her lungs. To Mike, volume stays off. Copy, Mike says, rinsing without a single cabinet slam. Chio clicks out. House soft door. The room settles. Himiko sags into the couch. Scarf tight, fist hooked in one end like a leash she chose. Fever rides high, then gets crafty. Memory sneaks in hands that didn't shake. DS bin, used wrong, lemon clean to hide blood, glove snapped too bright. The house answers with present tense. Cat climbs her shins, purrs through the blanket. Warm towel weight on her neck. Spoon on bowl clinks in an easy rhythm. A cabinet closes without a bang. Heat moves steady. Shivers pass. Breath evens. Aizawa takes the chair backward, arms on the backrest. I'm going to sit here until you sleep, he says like weather. Half asleep, she cracks one eye. If I run, will you chase? I'll keep the door open, he says. And walk your way. Mike can't help himself. Also, I'm faster than I look, but that's beside the point. Liar, she mumbles, no teeth. The cat needs once, parks. She grips the scarf and lets her eyes shut. Guilt presses say thank you. The word sticks. Tomorrow maybe. For now, warm air, towel, spoon. Each time fever drags her backward, the house drags her forward. Her hand loosens on the scarf. Breath slows. Aizawa checks color, wrap, clock. Eyes soften but don't sleep. Mike dries the last bowl. Down the hall, a laugh, a softer answer. No one comes closer. Night goes quiet and stays. Aizawa nudges a water glass into the triangle of her hand and the couch arm. He doesn't say drink. The glass waits. After a beat, she sips. Then again. No nausea. Sushi lifts off her shins, turns twice, settles on her ribs. Purr throttles down. Wait and warning, stay. Mike wipes the counter like it's a volume slider. Soup diplomacy, he says. Compliment incoming, you lived. Big one. Faucet off without a bang. See? I can turn the volume down at home. Don't start calling me good, she mutters into the scarf. I'm leaving if you do. Aizawa stays steady. You don't have to be good. You do have to eat. He cracks the thermos lid, lets one ribbon of steam drift, closes it. Warmth that travels. He sets a candy tin on the table and leaves it closed trade, not bribe. Her eyes keep finding the hook. Keys sit dull and quiet where she can see them. She hates that it helps. She holds the scarf like a leash she picked. Recovery girl's sheet waits on the counter, bat and all. The towel is folded where an apology would go. Nobody says sorry. The house fixes. Policy update, she says into wool. I bite. Not a threat. My guess. Just policy. Copy, Aizawa says. If it spikes, say it. I'll sit. She drinks again. I hate that your soup works. Same, Mike says pleased. Name the hit. Fix the hit. Soup. 2 out of 3. Working on it. Keys are on the hook, Aizawa says, mostly to the room. That matters. Her eyes close and pop open once more. Fever tries a last grab glove snap, lemon, wrong word for care. The cat's weight pushes back. Present wins. Towel, spoon click, cabinet that doesn't slam. She snorts. The scarf is clean and heavy and becomes her anchor without permission. She sinks 2 inches. The water glass waits where her fingers can find it in the dark. Aizawa stands, nudges the blanket within reach but doesn't tuck. No one tests you here, he says. We keep you. That sounds fake, she mumbles. Then we'll prove it in the morning. He checks color, wrap, temp strip. All trending right. She wants to say thank you and can't get past pride. He doesn't wait for the word. Sleep, he says low. We'll be here when you wake. Lights low. Keys still. Door cracked an inch. The cat pins the middle ground on her chest like a paperweight against panic. She breathes slow, and the house keeps time. Morning cuts a clean rectangle across the coffee table. The rest stays dim. Curtains half drawn. Radiator a little too hot. A fog of steam ghosts the upper pane. On the dresser, new black hoodie, fleece-lined leggings, thick socks, a shoebox, a brown paper kit with toothbrush, soap, lip balm. Her old sweater on the door hook washed, faint blood specks still there. A sticky note on the shoebox in block letters. These are yours. She peels the note, checks the back like a catch might be printed there. Nothing. Folds it twice, then again, pockets it like a deed. The house is awake elsewhere. Normal noise. Cabinets. Low voices. A little girl giggling about hair and a brush. Someone complains about socks. A teen mutters about a schedule. Dad energy moves through the air without touching her door. She lies there, listening, sick and confused about here and the when of leaving. She plans an exit she doesn't believe. Tonight, after everyone sleeps. After a shower. After soup. After sleep. After one more hour. Of safety. She hates herself for lining it up. She feels awful. Sandpaper throat. Flu ache behind the eyes. Left ribs. Scalp tight with dried sweat. Room smells like laundry, ghost miso and cat. A white tail vanishes under the bed like it has meetings. She sits up slow. The scarf is still around her neck. She loosens it, then tightens it again. Habit wins. Inventory because that makes sense. Door. Window. Bathroom. Nightstand, neat phone charger, blister-packed flip phone, unopened. Tiny tube of antibiotic ointment. A glass of water with a condensation ring and a folded napkin. Someone put things where she would look first. She hates that the layout is right. If this is a trap, she tells the room, voice rough, it moisturizes. No answer. Floor test with bare toes. Hate that too. She stands. The room doesn't tilt. Fever sits back but stays. She checks the sticky note again, slides it under the pillow like a kid hiding cash. Paper kit, toothbrush, soap, sealed bomb. No perfume stink. She dabs the split lip. Tastes like nothing honest. Hoodie on the dresser new, soft inside. Tag already cut so she won't have to ask. Leggings feel like heat if heat were cloth. Socks thick enough to argue with a bad floor. She sets them down, stares until staring is stupid. Under the bed, the cat makes a quiet woof like it found dust to insult. Flip phone again. Still sealed. A card under it, same block letters as the note. Call if you need anything. Yes. She puts the phone back. Not ready to pick a tool she didn't choose. Bathroom door cracked. Steam ghosts on the mirror from someone else's life. Towels stacked clean. New liner in the trash. Dry bath mat. Built to be used, not staged. That throws her harder than menace would. She looks at the old sweater. Wash kept. The faint specks left tell the truth and don't edit her. She trusts that more than the new clothes. Stomach grumbles. Reflex ignore. Then she remembers ignoring is how last night happened. Small drink of water. No flip. Another sip. Still fine. She wipes the ring with the napkin because being useful makes the static drop. Radiator ticks and settles. The house shifts from kitchen to door, shoes on tile, zipper. Have a good day. Feet leaving, the quiet that follows. Morning doesn't perform, it just happens and lets her overhear. She palms the scarf. Warm now with her heat. Wool, detergent, last night. Better than it should be. She tightens it until the edge presses her jaw and hurts a little. That helps. She lays the new clothes out like she needs proof. Hoodie. Leggings. Socks. Lifts the shoebox lid. Inside. Black sneakers, plain, solid. Paper stuffed in the toes. Another sticky under the tissue, receipts in the lid. No return line. Keep them. Check. Receipts. Today's date. Someone bought her shoes this morning like it's normal. She pockets the second note with the first and hates that the pair makes her feel claimed in a way that doesn't itch. Another drink. Low cough. Ribs complain. Wrist wrap still snug clean. Ointment stares. She uses it on the lip split and the thumb she chewed raw. Brief, honest sting. The flip phone stays. Her dead phone gets the charger out of instinct. Screen shows nothing. It still feels better to plug a corpse in. Exits again. Door. Window. Bathroom. No new threats. She opens the bathroom all the way and turns the shower on low. Steam climbs slow, less aggressive than the radiator fog. She sits on the closed lid, waits to see if the water runs rusty. It doesn't. Forehead to fists until the light behind her eyes calms. The cat strolls in like it pays rent, hops on the tub ledge, considers water like it owns physics. Don't, she warns. Managerial blink. Exit. She shuts the water off. Not yet. Calories first or heat will floor her. Ginger candy in last night's pocket, she rolls it in her palm. Petty victory, she'll eat it because she decided, not because someone said. Back to the bed. Window stare. She could leave tonight. She pictures it, house asleep, scarf on, take the shoes, leave the hoodie so it's not stealing, keys quiet on the hook, air that cuts to prove her feet still belong to her. Holds it until it looks cheap. Lets it go. Radiator hisses, quiets. House hum evens. Head hurts. She lies back for a minute because sitting has a price. Sticky note from her pocket back under the pillow, soundless. Candy crackle. Ginger tastes like nothing, brave and still does its job. Eyes closed. Let the room exist without her choosing it. After a minute, feet on the warm floor. Steam fogs the mirror fast. Water just under hot so she won't go lightheaded, still a shock. First shower in weeks. First real clean in longer. She stands under it until her scalp stops feeling like a helmet. Scrub hair twice. Gray water circles the drain. Soap under nails. Rinse again because enough is a word she doesn't trust. Water off. Quite hits. Dry fast so cold doesn't win. Paper kit open. New sports bra right size, lucky guess. Fleece-lined leggings that look like leather slide on, warm and honest. Thick socks. A Demon Slayer tee makes her snort once without meaning to. Fits. Stupid how much that helps. Hesitates on the hoodie. Hers K-pop Demon Hunters, hand-stitched little stars on the pocket. Old torn bloodspot. They kept it. Washed it. The stains that stayed are small, honest. She pulls it on and the wet in her eyes ambushes her. She curses at the mirror and grabs the toothbrush so she has something to do. First time in days. Mint burns the split, then calms it. Spit, rinse, watch the pink thread fade. She looks like someone, not a ghost. Human for once. Disarming as hell. Tamura blindsides her. She misses him so hard it knocks air loose. Hands on the sink. Breathe until it hurts less. The cough that follows is ugly and deep. Rib twinge, chest rattle. Ride it out with her forehead on her sleeve. She's actually sick. Scarf back on because it's hers now. Heel of hand clears the mirror. Back to the bed. A soft knock. No voice. She freezes out of habit. Steps are already leaving. She waits a full minute, superstition beats trust, then cracks the door the width of an eye. Tray on the floor. Empty hall. On the tray, miso with tofu, plain rice, apple slices, ginger candy, another water. No note. She drags it in with her foot, shuts the door, locks it. Sits on the carpet with her back to the bed frame, scarf still on, eyes on the door. The room smells like steam, soap, soup. Better than lemon and fear. She stirs the miso and talks to it because soup doesn't answer back. If I puke on your floor, I'm blaming the tofu. She doesn't. First spoon careful. Second bigger. Stomach takes the job. Rice after. Apple between. Slow. Hand around the water glass to catch the sweat. Flip phone on the nightstand, still sealed. Dead phone on the charger, still dead. She tells herself she's not checking the hook by the door and looks up anyway. Halfway through, the cough rattles. Worse when she stops moving. Sip of water, wait it out, ginger candy promoted to starter. Recovery girl's list runs in her head, soup, water, bathroom, bed. Annoying how correct it is. She eats the tofu so Mike won't be unbearable. The apple resets the salt. The scarf scratches, she tightens it anyway. Control by discomfort. The cat slides out from under the bed and parks just out of reach, Foreman stare. No, she tells it. Soup's not for you. It blinks, curls where it can watch the door and her hands at once. Empty bowl. She holds the spoon and listens. House busy farther off, laugh spikes, fades. A teen voice crosses. Aizawa's baritone checks in and keeps moving. No one asks for anything. Bowl back on the tray, water kept close. Knees up, forehead to them until the buzzing drops. The leave tonight plan is still in her pocket, smaller now. She prods it like a bad tooth. After a shower. After one more bowl. After sleep. After not coughing up a lung. The after stack. She cleans the spoon with the napkin and edge aligns it because neatness is cheaper than thanks. The sticky note in her hoodie pocket gets palmed, felt, slid back under the pillow. Proof. Cough again. Slow breath. She can hear Chiyo's forethreat if she can't keep it down. Mix, soup diplomacy, Aizawa's sleep. We'll be here when you wake. She hates that his voice lives in her head already. She finishes the water. No nausea. Empty glass goes to the tray's corner so it won't tip. She stands, nudges the tray by the door, relax. Back to the bed, then down to the carpet. Scarf is ballast. Leggings hold heat. Hoodie smells like her and laundry and a night that didn't end in a slam. 2 minutes of feeling human. Then 3. Then she lies on top of the blanket and watches the ceiling until the radiator tick-tick slows. The cough threatens. She swallows ginger and pride and closes her eyes. A measured knock. Not urgent, not timid. She says nothing. The beat. I'm opening the door, Aizawa says. Just so. Stays in the doorway until her smallest nod. He reads the scraped bowl, tray by the door, scarf knotted like armor. Sets a second bottle of water on the dresser. Doesn't come farther in. Eyebrow toward the chair. She flicks 2 fingers. He sits backward, forearms on the back. Couple of questions, he says. Direct. Then I'm out of your air. She stiffens. Make them good. I will. Level voice. Who hit you? Not Tamura. Not Dabi. Fast hut. Don't put this on them. He nods like the bruises already told him. Who bit you? She looks at the blanket, then him. Me. The moon's on my knees? Mine. No flinch. How many blackouts this week? She swallows. Twice. 3 with last night. He logs it. Okay. She waits for the trap. It doesn't come. He just gives the room air. He tries a name, careful. Shigaraki. No. Toga, he says softer. I heard you call him Tomu. Tomu is good. She hates how fast it pours out. He stops when you say stop. Plays too many games, eats chips for dinner, taught me how to sleeve cards so corners don't get wrecked. Built a stupid blue control deck and hates it because it's boring and he can't admit he built boring. She cuts herself off. Angry at softness. Twice, Aizawa repeats, logging the number, not the feelings. She glares. Don't twist me. I'm not. The beat. Dabi. Fine. Quick, protective. He'll give you his jacket and steal your lighter. Stands too close to vents because he runs cold funny, right? Pretends not to care. Remembers your coffee 2 weeks later. He never, head shake. He's good. The others. They're normal, she says, and it sounds like defending herself. We argue laundry, share stupid memes, talk through trash TV, play Mario Kart and swear we're not screen peeking. Twice cries at movies and calls it allergies. Spinner labels like a dad. Magna used to hum and make the kitchen feel like a place. Her face hardens. Don't make them monsters because I'm here. I'm not. He lets it be a weight. The lesson, he says next. Who gave it? Teeth press. He climbs. Don't. Name matters. She stares at the scarf like it might answer. Finally, all for one. The air goes sour. I talked. I wasn't supposed to. Breath stutters. The sentence shears. Her hands flex like they want to scratch her face off. She fists the blanket instead. He doesn't fill the silence. One small nod. I believe you. She laughs without humor. That's new. Infection kills quiet, he says, same steady tone. I'll watch for it. A glance to the water. But you don't have to go back. Jaw jump. You don't know what that means. I do. No blink. Not asking for a promise. Giving you an option. She tips her head to the ceiling so she doesn't cry at his face. It fails. The break comes quiet, then ugly. Ribs bark. Cough crowds in. She tries to swallow it and loses. She hates the sound. Keeps her fist in the blanket so she doesn't tear herself open. He doesn't move big. He lets the surge pass. When her breathing finds rough baseline, he stands and, passing, pats her head once awkward, gentle, like checking if a kettle's about to boil. You're going to be a problem, he says, soft, a little wry. I bite, she warns, voice wrecked. Policy noted. The corner of his mouth tips, tired and relieved. She scrubs her face with her palm and glares at the wall because glaring is cheaper than thanks. If you start calling me good, I'm leaving. You don't have to be good, he says. You do have to eat. He nods at the bowl. If the fever spikes, say it. I'll sit. She swallows. Doesn't nod. Nods anyway. I'll be outside, he says. He leaves the door at that same safe angle. The house hum holds. She breathes, and for once it doesn't feel like a test. She hates how much the line steadies her nervous system. Whatever. He doesn't leave. He sits like a piece of furniture that learned patience. You talked about them, he says after a minute. What about you? What do you like? She snorts. Interrogation by hobbies? Yeah. She stalls with the bomb, taps the split. Trash reads, she says. Urban fantasy with bad covers. Manga weeklies when I can steal the app. True crime podcasts until they start loving. Cops off. Reddit drama. A cough grabs, she rides it out. Dumb horror that ends in daylight. He nods like she handed him a grocery list. Games. Fighting games badly. MTG casual. Toma built me mono-red so I'd point burn at faces. Her mouth twitches. I write on things. Jackets. I stitch stars on my hoodie when I can't sit still. That's a hobby, shut up. I wasn't arguing. I collect stickers, she adds, because the room keeps not biting. Vending machines, kit packs. I hide them inside drawers. I used to cook instant noodles 5 ways. Noted. Mike can judge noodles. Mike judges everything. Another cough. Ribs complain. She sips and glares at the cup for helping. I like trains. Sitting on them. Watching people and not being anyone. The words slide easier than she wants. Night walks. Street cats. Heat vents. Dumb stuff. Not dumb, he says. Okay, professor. She eyes him. What do you read? Manuals. Whatever Airy hands me. I fall asleep a lot. Rock star. Tired leaks in. Own another hoodie? A few. What's with the scarf? Habit. He lets it stand. Music. Loud or sad. K-pop when I want to live. Taylor when I want to cry and pretend it's about a boy. She frowns. Don't make that face. I didn't. He doesn't. Who are you, Himiko? Pass. Fingernail ghosts her wrist. She catches herself. Sick girl. Hungry girl. Girl not giving you a headline. I don't need one. He tips his chin at the pocket stars. You stitched maps. She swallows. Yeah. I make maps no one can see. That helps, he says. Stop agreeing with me, she mutters, no real bite. A yawn sneaks out, the cough follows. He waits it through. Back to bed, he says offer, not order. You can hate it horizontal. Policy, I bite. Noted. She does more ointment, straightens leggings and socks, tucks the sticky note under the pillow like a secret. Dead phone stays a brick on the charger. She slides under the duvet, scarf on top like a weighted line. House sounds stay ordinary and close dry teen voice, little girl laugh. Mike going domestic, dishes. She stays put. Not ready to leave the room. A soft thump from under the bed. The white cat commits to the duvet and parks at her ankles. She pretends she didn't smile. A knuckle tap. Medicine on the nightstand, Aizawa says. He sets acetaminophen, a decongestant, and a sealed burner. Names on the packets. She rolls to face the wall, easier that way. You noticed I changed. I notice things. She pulls the towel edge up to hide the tiny red that didn't wash out. He clocks it and lets it pass. If you want the clinic later, say so, he adds from the doorway. If not, the room stays yours. You're weird. I'm consistent. He starts to go. Wait, she says before pride eats it. He pauses. Yeah. I like trains. Kebab. Stitching. Trash books. And rice with furicake. The beat. The purple kind. He nods like she handed him a password. Copy. Soup worked. Hate that. Soup diplomacy, floats from Mike. Die, she says, no heat. Living loudly, Mike replies, softer. Her cough scratches, backs off. She buries into the scarf until it passes. If you start calling me good, I'm leaving, she warns, muffled. The cat slips out like he owns the place, rubs Aizawa's shins, then beelines for the scarf end at her throat. Pepe. Choo. Motorcycle purr. Hey menace, she says, trying not to smile as the wool gets a light mauling. Not menace, Aizawa deadpants. His name's Sushi. Himiko blinks. Sushi. Eri named him. Sushi abandons the scarf, climbs her ribs, settles under her chin. One paw needs the drawstring, the other claims the blanket. Sushi, she says, scratching a clean ear. Perfect name. Aizawa loses a quiet laugh and doesn't hide it. Yeah. Sushi headbutts her jaw once and goes still, warm and heavy. Aizawa checks the temp strip with a glance, the water with another. You're stocked. If you want the clinic later, say so. If not, the room stays yours. Copy, she says into the scarf. Rest, he says, soft. We'll be here when you wake. He eases the door mostly closed. Sushi purrs. Himiko lets her eyes shut. The room is quiet. Sushi's a warm loaf on her stomach, paws tucked, tail flicking at nothing. A TV sits on the dresser, remote half hidden under the edge like someone paused life and forgot. Why not? Menu wall premium logos, too many choices. She flips until Auron's bright, stupid theme hits. Fine, she tells Sushi. Chaos it is. He opens one eye, approves, naps harder. 5 minutes in she's mouthing lines. Easy watch. Silly. Nobody dies. The cough tries to ruin it. She sips the old water, tucks the scarf higher, keeps going. When Tamaki spins in, Sushi lifts his head like the drama's personal. Ear scratch. You'd be the real host, she tells him. You'd sell us out for tuna. Soft knock. It's me, Mike says, cracking the door. Tray balanced, 2 small bowls and a plate stacked high. Bacon, miso, toasted bread smell hits first. She pushes up against the headboard. Sushi adjusts without complaint, heat pack mode. You feeding an army? Just me and my many talents. He slides the tray to the low dresser, then to her lap when she doesn't protest. BLTs, he says proud. Japan edition, shokupan, kewpie, crispy bacon, thin tomato, butter lettuce. Plus soup. Plus ice water. Plus green tea. Glass and mugland where one hand can reach both. She squints like there's a catch. Terms. You eat while the twins do crimes. He nods at the TV. That's the deal. Suspicious, she mutters and bites. The bread's soft with toasted edges, bacon snaps, mayo rich not heavy. Eyes close against her will. Okay, she admits. That's good. Hurtful, he says, grinning. I was aiming for great. Fine. Great. Don't get cocky. The smile gets out anyway. He takes the other bowl, slurps miso like law. Fever. Losing. Still gross. We can live with gross. He keeps his voice low. Need anything I didn't bring? She glances at the door hook once, then back. No. He doesn't push. Bites his sandwich, looks pleased at himself. They eat through 2 episodes. Sushi relocates to the curve of her hip to supervise. A lettuce edge peeks, a paw appears like a tiny thief. No, she says. Get a job. Mike laughs, quiet. He has a job. Morale officer. Demoted, she says, and scratches under Sushi's chin anyway. Per resumes. They don't talk much. He laughs in the right places, drops in, oh no, not this guy, like he's seen it 100 times and still enjoys it. No pivot to serious questions. He refills her water once without asking. Tops her miso like it's nothing. Leaves the tea until she finally sips and decides it doesn't taste like medicine. Halfway through a 3rd episode, a thought hits like a tripwire. The last time someone made her soup when she was sick, she was small with a nightlight and a parent not afraid of her yet. The present blurs. The cough climbs. She leans forward, riding it without cracking the rib bruise. Mike pauses the show like it's part of the recipe. Breathe, he says, steady. I've got all day. She waves him off and finishes coughing. I hate this. Me too, he says. You're still doing great. She cuts him a look. Don't call me good. I said great. Smile tucked away. Different word. That's worse. Noted. She takes another bite to end it. He lets it end. They finish the sandwiches. She wipes Kewpie off her thumb and pretends the towel is for the table, not her face. He pretends not to notice. On screen, a dramatic monologue lands. She snorts. I love when pretty boys suffer. It's healing. Whole genre, he agrees. Therapeutic. She studies him over the bowl. Why are you being so nice? Because you're sick, he says, like it's obvious. Because we feed people. Because we can. Nobody does that, she says, meaning her life. Start of the day, he says, softer. It didn't happen. Now it's happening. Tiny sample size. We'll increase the N. Don't turn me into a study. Promise. He taps play. You know the line where Tamaki picks the room over his soliloquy? Which one? The one where he actually listens. She rolls her eyes. You're impossible. Correct. They watch another episode. Her energy dips, doesn't crash. Soup gone. TF. Ice water sweats a ring. Sushi dead asleep across her stomach, warm weight pinning her to the moment whether she likes it or not. Mike waits until she tucks her legs under the blanket before he gathers plates. I'll bring trash TV later, he says. And more tea. Or not. Your call. You'll bring soup, she says, aiming for annoyed. It sounds like a request. Soup diplomacy continues. He carries the tray to the door, pauses. Hey. She braces. What? You don't owe us pretty, he says. Soup. Cough. Swear at the TV. That's the mission. A sharp retort doesn't arrive. Your BLTs are illegal, she settles on. I'll get a permit. Rest your voice. Save it for yelling at episode 12. He's gone with a soft door hush. Credits roll. TV hum low. She scratches Sushi's back until the purr goes lazy. She is still suspicious. She is still planning a midnight exit she probably won't take. But she's warm. Federal someone made soup and didn't spend it. That hasn't happened since she was small. She flips to the next episode. Okay, she tells the cat, the room, herself. One more. Sushi resettles, a warm comma at her hip. The menu chime drifts. Heat shifts from too much to just right. She means to change the channel, then to drink more water, then to watch one more, and instead falls asleep sideways with the scarf in both hands. It starts in the safest place her brain knows how to build. A couch, a controller, a bowl of chips. Tamura is curled like a question mark, elbows on knees, eyes fixed on the TV with that hungry look that eats screens and thoughts in the same way. The controller wire snakes around his wrist like a tether. She's sitting too close, because she always sat too close, knees touching his thigh, controller warm from her hands. The screen is a fighting game they've played 100 times. He's running a character he pretends to hate. She's mashing and trash-talking and losing on purpose because making him laugh matters more than winning. Stop screen peeking, she says. He doesn't look at her. You're accusing because you do it. I do it better. That's sad. Yeah. He flicks an eye over. The corner of his mouth does that barely there lift that feels like catching sunlight through a crack. Yeah. They fall into the rhythm they had when it worked. Cheap hits, smug pauses, his feet tapping on the floor when he's thinking, her head leaning into his shoulder a fraction when she's not looking. The room smells like cheap chips and dust and hot plastic. Spinner yells from the kitchen that the sink isn't a dumpster. Twice shouts back something about composting. Magna hums over it all, a thread that pulled the mess into something like a song. It's perfect until it isn't, dream slippery. The controller cable is thicker now, climbing his wrist like ivy, then rope, then red tape with big letters she can't quite read. He blows on his fingers because they itch, because they always itch, and the skin on his hands looks worse than it did last week, then better, then like it did the night he told her don't touch. She reaches anyway. He flinches the way he never did before the last year happened. She pretends she didn't see. Dream etiquette says pretend until you can't. Tomu, she says, and it's a whisper that tries to be normal. What? He says, not looking. If we just. He pauses the game. No sound. The room takes a breath and holds it. He turns his head slowly like an old hinge, eyes tired and sharp at once. If we what? Nothing, she says, coward and liar. It's your turn. He unpauses. It's always my turn, he says. It doesn't sound like a joke. The couch tilts. They're in the kitchen. Dobby is there, back to the counter, flame blue eyes lazy under black hair. He's got a mug in one hand, jacket half on like he sleeps in it. He raises the mug in a little salute when he sees her. You look like trash, Toga. Thanks, she says. You look like a microwave caught fire. She smirks. Truth. He flips her a lighter. She catches it and holds it tight because it's warm, because it's his. He notices and does not take it back. He never does. That's his trick. Leave warmth, refuse orders, vanish before you can say thanks. She likes him too much for exactly that. Where's your coat? She asks. He shrugs, lazy. On a chair somewhere. Not your problem. He tips his head toward the hall where Tamura vanished and adds, casual, you two fight. Not really. She can't finish, won't love me the way I need, can't say, I keep trying to make it work, because every time she thinks that sentence in his presence, the room knows, and the room starts punishing her for being obvious. Dobby looks at her like she's a burned match he's deciding whether to keep. You're annoying. You're a mess, he says, affectionate in the way he only is when no one else is listening. He reaches to pat her head and stops himself at the last second because he isn't allowed to look like he cares even in her head. Eat something, gremlin. The kitchen slides. The light goes sharp and white. The lemon cleaner smell is wrong. A glove snaps in a way rubber shouldn't. The air turns neat too neat. A door that was never part of their place opens where a wall should be and the hallway beyond is hospital bright. A corridor that belongs to all for one in the way bridges belong to rivers. She tries to step backward. Her shoes stick to nothing. Tamura is there again at the end of the hall, younger and older, both one eye tracking her, one eye tracking a camera that isn't visible. He shakes his head a fraction, the don't he used to mean for your sake and lately meant because I can't save you if you do. She reaches for him. Her fingers bend wrong. That's the dream telling her no. The man's voice arrives before the man does. DSPLN, he says, like a priest saying grace. The glove snaps again. The lemon smell gets louder, a stink made of rules and shame. She panics and the dream tries to save her by changing the channel. It puts them on a train, she and Tamura and Dobby in a row of 3, shoulders that barely touch like secrets in public. The car rattles with the kind of comfort she loves. Space to be nobody, time to be quiet. Tamura holds a deck box on his knee. He's building a hand he'll later hate. Dobby's jacket is a blanket that he pretends just happened to fall over her legs. She's wearing the hoodie she's wearing right now, with the little stars she stitched when she couldn't make her hand stop. Her head tips onto Tamura's shoulder. He doesn't move it away. He doesn't put his head on hers. He doesn't know how to without breaking. She knows that and lets it be. Where are we going? She asks. Nowhere, Dobby says dreamy. Everywhere, Tamura says, correct and impossible. The car slides into a tunnel. The tunnel is too long. The lights go out and come back on and they're in a hallway again, not a train, and Lemon hides the metallic and she thinks if she can just keep naming the smell it won't become what it is, bleach covering blood. All for one's hand appears where it shouldn't, a gloved thing from a frame outside the frame. It holds her chin the way you hold a receipt. Talking, he tuts. You know better. She tries to bite the glove and can't. Her mouth is full of copper. The sound she makes is small. She hates that the sound is small. Diespelin is care, he says, and the corridor fills with that sentence like a gas. Tamura is gone. Dobby is gone. There is only the white that makes you small and the voice that makes you smaller. She isn't in her body anymore. She's a record of a body. She floats an inch to the left of her own nerves and watches the hits land on someone with her shape. A door opens. A new smell cuts through lemon and shame, wool. So, the corridor bleaches to gray, then to an ordinary hall with shoe scuffs and a potted plant dying in a regular way. Hands, a voice says. Not all for one. Lower. Human. Tired. I'm going to warm your hands. A washcloth lands on the back of her neck in a memory that's pretending to be a future that already happened. The feeling is so specific it breaks the room. She's back on the couch again, but it's not the league couch. It's softer and doesn't smell like cigarettes. Tamura is perching on the coffee table like he owns gravity, elbows on his knees, hands flexing in fingerless gloves he never wore outside of comics. He's glitching a little, like bad reception and grief both. He looks at her like he wants to save her and can't admit that word lives in his mouth. He looks at her like he wants her to save him and knows she can't. Tomu, she says. Come with me. He smiles wrong. To where? Anywhere the lemon isn't. That place doesn't exist, he says, the way he would when he wanted to make the joke before she could. He stands, paces, turns into himself at 14, then 20, then the age he is now, then the age he would be if the world had been kinder. I can't leave, he says, and he might mean the room or the league or the trap in his head or the hand on his neck she couldn't see even when she tried to cut it off. Dobby, she says too loud to change the math. He's there, of course, leaning in a doorway that didn't have a doorway a second ago. He has a jacket in his hand and he tosses it without looking. It lands over her knees perfect. It's warm, and it smells like smoke and street in his dumb conditioner that claims it does 10 things and does maybe 2. She pulls it up to her chin and resents him for giving her exactly what she wanted without letting her owe him anything. Take care of yourself, he says, aiming the order somewhere to her left so he can pretend it wasn't an order. Or I'll steal your scarf. You would, she says. Obviously. Come with me, she says, even though she knows he doesn't, he can't, he won't. I'm good where I am, he lies, smooth as lacquer. The room shifts again. The couch becomes a bench at a bus stop. Snow is doing that quiet winter thing where it looks like it loves you while it tries to kill you. She's colder than the dream should allow. She looks down and realizes she's in last night's clothes again, aquatic with cold, cardigan heavy with melt. She tastes copper. Her knee scars flare like alarms under sleet. She calls out, Tomu, and it comes back as fog. She says, Dobby, and it comes back as glass. She says, twice, and it comes back as laughter that hurts. She starts to shake the way you shake when your core is done with you. The bus never comes. The sign curls. The alley opens its mouth again. Hands, the voice says, closer. Cup them. She cups them in the dream and in the bed. Warm breath slides into both worlds. All for one, she says to the snow, because maybe if she says it first the room won't. Don't, Tamura says, suddenly right next to her on the bench, as if he's forgiven time for once. His hand hovers near her shoulder. It does not land. Don't name him for me, he adds, almost gentle. I miss you, she says and hates herself. He looks at her like a black hole looks at light. I know, he says. He sounds wrecked. He sounds like the boy who taught her how to sleeve cards and the man who told her to stay away in the same breath. I miss you too. Then, the corridor tries to grow again, glove and lemon and long echo. She flinches, the bench cracks, Dobby's jacket slips. The washcloth comes back, a better answer. Warmth at the neck. Weight at the ribs. Maybe in both places. Aizawa, she says, and the dream does something she didn't think it could. It gives her a door with his name on it. Plain wood. Metal handle. A key on a hook nearby. She can see the key. It is not hidden. She hates that detail makes the door more real than anything else. The door opens just enough for air. He doesn't step in. He stays where he is, like the rules of the house apply to dreams too. Neck, he says. Warm. A towel touch. Breathe. I bit myself, she says instead of, I'm scared. It's a dumb confession and a real one. Okay, he says. Not a fix. Not a sermon. We'll stop the infection. We'll keep you breathing. I don't deserve. You're sick, he says. That's the only math we're doing today. Somewhere just off frame, Mike whispers, soup diplomacy, because even in dreams he can't help himself. She hears Dobby laugh at that, surprised and almost fond. Tamura rolls his eyes in a way that looks like relief. All for one, she tries again, because her brain is a dog with a bad toy and can't stop bringing it back. Later, Aizawa says, not a dodge. A brick in the right place. Sleep. The bench turns into the couch, turns into the bed she actually lies in. The scarf tightens and becomes a heavy line she can throw herself against. Sushi thumps onto her ribs for real and purrs until the rhythm becomes the room's heartbeat. The lemon smell dies. The wool and tea and key smell wins. Tamura steps back. He looks hurt and proud and stupid with love in all the wrong ways. He puts 2 fingers to his own temple like he's erasing something, and for a terrible second she thinks he's erasing her. He isn't. He's erasing the glove. It flickers, then fades. Ask next time, he says, a ghost of the better memory, like he's gifting her a line they both needed. I did, she says. He didn't. Then don't ask him again, Dobby says from the doorway, like an older brother who knows he doesn't get a vote. Ask the raccoon with the scarf. She huffs a laugh that hurts her chest. You're an idiot. You love that about me. Yeah, she says, and it's the ugliest truth she has. Aizawa's voice comes from the door that isn't quite open. Keys are on the hook, he says. That matters. Why? She asks half asleep. Because you can leave, he says. And you can choose not to. The dream stutters. The bench is gone. The glove is gone. The lemon is a memory she can carry without drowning in it for once. The house is present tense. The towel has weight. The cat's motor shakes into her ribs. The scarf itches. The TV hums something harmless. Feet go by in a hall that belongs to a life where kids argue about hair and breakfast and nobody checks blood off a floor with bleach like prayer. Sleep, Aizawa says last. The word lands like a hand on a dog's shoulders, steadying, not pinning. She turns her face into the scarf and, inside the dream and outside it, lets it be true. Tamura and Dobby stay where they are in the doorway of her head, complicated, loved, not fixed. The hall beyond them is empty of the man with the glove. The door with Aizawa's name on it stays cracked an inch. The keys don't move. Sushi purrs. The fever backs up a step. The room holds. She sleeps. They keep the room warm and the house quieter than it should be. Morning slides to afternoon and back on the same walls. That's how she knows days are moving. She sleeps a lot, but never so hard she can't hear the cat hop down or the soft door clicks. Sushi learns her weight and uses it, settles on her stomach like a paperweight meant to hold down panic. The fever fights in boring waves. She sweats through one set of sheets, then the next, then stops being proud about it because Aizawa swaps them with a rhythm that never asks anything of her. Laundry isn't virtue, it's just what a house does when someone's sick. Mike keeps bringing food at the edge of funny miso and rice, ginger candy posed like mascots, BLTs on shokupan with Kewpie, a small bowl of pickles, for crunch morale. She hates that it works and eats anyway. Each time she threatens, out of habit, to bite if anyone says good, nobody says it. Her body boils, then blinks, then gives. It's ugly, and ugly is allowed. Awake, she picks a channel and lets it run. Auron, then a cooking show where people politely panic over omelets, then paranormal nonsense at midnight. Noise she chooses. Scarf up, knees tented, cat installed. Mike adopts a policy of not talking unless the show begs to be heckled. He can make his voice fit a room the way towels fold. Practiced, neat, mostly invisible. She realizes, reluctantly, that the quiet he does at home is a choice. Once he asks for one low-stakes trivia to keep your brain from running into traffic. She offers without looking away. When I was 9, the laundromat's change machine ate paper clips and spit out dimes. Tuesdays only. He bows like she performed. She scowls because she did. Between shows and naps, there's Aizawa, steady as a radiator. He develops a perimeter she never had to explain, talks from the door, comes to the chair if she crooks 2 fingers, sets things down and backs up if she taps the dresser. He picks the markers up and never fumbles them. He walks her through the dull math of being sick. Drink before you cough. Shower warm, not hot. Rinse after tea. When the shiver crests, towel at the pipes. No frosting on the words. Her brain takes the checklist and climbs it like a ladder out of a pit, and she hates how well it works. He also talks about nothing because nothing is real. The cat's name is Sushi. Eri named him because he rolls into a cylinder and has fish opinions. Lemon-scented anything is banned. He falls asleep reading manuals and is saving a stack of paperbacks for a personality transplant. She likes K-pop and Taylor and loud things and sad things and trains where no one knows her face. He doesn't turn that into a confession, he turns it into shopping data. Purple furicake, he repeats. Copy. Sometimes he leaves a deck of cards on the dresser and says nothing. She ignores them all day and opens them after he's gone just to breathe the inky paper. He leaves them there the next day and the next. She doesn't explain that Tamura taught her to sleeve corners careful and the memory is so loud it scares her. He doesn't ask. She puts the cards back in the box like a crush and pretends she never touched them when Mike arrives with tea. The big questions circle: why am I here? How long? What's the catch? But fear pins her tongue. Asking makes things real. Asking might make them say policy she cannot live with. So she keeps her mouth full of soup and sarcasm and lets the drones orbit. Muscle memory still flares. When he moves closer without warning because the towel's sliding, she bares teeth. Touch me and I bite. He freezes, lets the towel hit wood. Then I won't. Next time he says, towel near your shoulder, hand coming in, and it goes easier and she hates that too. Once she snaps at Mike for pausing at the worst moment. He says, my bad, unpauses, no wounded look. She hides under the scarf 3 minutes until her skin fits again. Second morning the fever breaks for real and tries to come back in the afternoon like a sore loser. Recovery girl drops in for 7 minutes, takes numbers, leaves candy, scolds her for picking the lip split, fixes it anyway. Sugar for compliance, not bravery, she says, and tells Mike to keep his volume at kitchen. Himiko expects to be mad and can't summon it. Numbers beat shame. Breathing gets easier. The cough gets wetter, less scary. She can take a longer shower and not shake. She puts on fleece-lined leggings, the Demon Slayer tee, her stitched star hoodie, and looks like someone you could mistake for a student carrying coffee. The thought hurts and warms. She tucks the hurt under the scarf. The house leaks morning through the wall. A little girl debates hair. A teen says something tired and kind. Mike laughs low and cuts away. Background to the new routine. Eat, drink, rinse, towel, nap, TV. She tries to hate normal and can't quite, because normal doesn't demand applause. Late one evening, ragged from a cough that wouldn't quit and a dream that wouldn't let go of Lemon, she crowds him with the question that isn't the big one. Why are you doing this? Soup is cheaper than funerals, he says, joke that isn't. Then, simpler, you're here. That's not a rule. It's mine. He tips 2 pills into his palm, sets them near her water, doesn't push. Consistency reads as weird, he adds, almost apologizing for it. She wants to throw the water. Instead she drinks and presses the cold glass to her cheek until it erases a feeling she refuses to translate. Mike drifts in some afternoons with sandwiches and gossip about a cartoon they pretend both care about. He brings a ridiculous green apple frog candy and calls it medicine. He leans in doorways, in the room without shrinking it. He watches her watch and lets his face do honest reactions without fishing for hers. The first time his laugh hits a punchline she already lined up, she startles at the idea that predictable can be safe. He catches it, turns the volume down in apology. Later she asks him to crank the theme, and he does it without gloating. Noted, theme loud, he says. Shut up, she says. Copy, he says, and it lands like a blanket over something too hot. She's careful not to say Tamura's name in front of both of them. Sometimes she tells it to Sushi, who refuses to make meaning out of anything but food and heat. In the hour between second tea and lying down, she holds 2 truths at once. The boy who said, ask next time, and stopped when she said stop, and the man working under a nightmare because he hasn't found a door out. Missing him and not wanting to go back sit side by side and refuse to eat each other. Message. Honest. The room collects small proofs like lint. A towel keeps appearing on the armrest where apologies would go. No one says the word. The thermos travels from dresser to hand to dresser. The heat isn't performative. A candy tin shows up and stays, sometimes full, sometimes not. Trade, not bribe. Mike says accidentally writing a policy she'll use later to accept help without losing face. The flip phone sits sealed. Her dead phone stays on the charger like a pet rock. No one plugs it for her. No one asks for it. She practices asking nothing by asking small, more rice. Fan down. Leave the door 2 inches. Each clean landing brings the bigger ask closer and more dangerous. She plans to ask at night and the cough arrives, ready-made excuse. She plans to ask by day and Mike says something gently stupid. She laughs hard enough to tear the question in half and toss it. She knows she'll fish the halves back out. Close range triggers old alarms. The flare is fast. A look with teeth, a joke too sharp for the air. Sometimes she pushes on purpose to see if it cuts. It doesn't. They refuse to offer skin to that blade. They don't dodge either, they let the joke dull itself on the furniture. Infuriating. Effective. The house keeps not testing her. That becomes the test she fails. She behaves like a cornered thing anyway. One afternoon Aizawa appears too quietly and says, "Medicine on the nightstand." Her hand snaps toward the water to throw. She stops an inch in. He clock checks the brakes with the smallest shift of his mouth. Good brakes. Pills down. Back out. No lecture. It lands harder than a speech. Sushi betrays her regularly. He escorts Aizawa in like the man needs credentials, hunts the scarf end, then sleeps folded into the curve of her hip, paws on the drawstring, purring like a small engine that belongs to the house. She calls him Menace. Aizawa corrects, Sushi. The name gets less ridiculous every time she says it. When she finally mutters, "Perfect name," Aizawa's laugh is short and honest, and he tells her to rest like the laugh cost nothing to give. By the third night, when the fevers of film and the cough has retreated to the edge of the room, the big questions press hard enough that even avoidance can't cover them. TV muted. Soup diplomacy leftovers cold. Fingers worrying stitched stars. Door at its usual 2 inches. The house doing a bedtime version of itself. Aizawa leans in, sees her face, comes only to the chair. "You're thinking in tight circles," he says, annoyingly right. "If you need an answer, ask it." Metal hits her tongue. "I'll bite." He doesn't blink. "Bite me if you must," he says, calm as weather, "but ask first." The line clicks in her ribs. What? Not outrage, confusion, like a dog hearing a new command in a familiar tone. "Consent applies to sharp," he says. "You can be a problem. You can also be clear." Her map didn't have that branch. He lets the silence be what it is. The lodged question won't come out or go down. She moves a neighbor. "Why do you keep the door cracked?" "Because you can leave," he says. "And because you can choose not to." She sits with it until the walls breathe. "Why am I here?" "Because you came to our door," he says, steady. "Because you were freezing and sick. I brought you in. Only you revoke that." "For how long?" "As long as the fever wants us. As long as you want the room. If that changes, say it." "What do you want?" she pushes, mean to hide the tremor. "From me." "Soup compliance, dry. Hydration. No sneaking into vents. Tell us if you're testing the door so we can open it instead of watching you test hinges." That's it. That's it. Relief is humiliating. It wets her eyes and dumps her hands. She swipes and blames the cough. He lets her. On his way out, he pauses like he's checking a kettle, one brief, warm tap to the top of her head. She sticks her tongue out so she won't say thank you. He ignores both and says, "Rest." Later, Mike arrives with honeyed lemon tea and crime show slander. 1 episode and a half. He trashes the villain's monologue and eats his words when the twist lands better than he remembered. He takes the cup, leaves a candy like a calling card. "I can turn the volume down at home," he murmurs, dialing another quarter. "Watch this." She flips him off gently. He pretends to be wounded. They both laugh, the least awful kind of laugh. In the middle of the night she jolts from a dream, Tamura's name like salt. The room catches her where the dream drops her, towel weight at the neck, scarf line at the jaw, cat engine at the ribs, water glass where her hand lands. The lemon is gone. Okay, she tells none of it and all of it, and slides back into a sleep that feels less like drowning and more like floating while someone sits on the edge keeping count. By the fourth morning the fever's a ghost and the cough a bad habit. She keeps her distance because distance is a skill, but the room keeps containing her without pinning her, and the people keep showing up without turning it into debt. No speech montage. Just half a bowl of soup, tofu rejected on principle, then stolen back while Mike watches credits. Aizawa checking a temp strip and nodding at a number, Sushi stealing the scarf and getting away with it, her mutter, "If you start calling me good, I'm leaving," and Aizawa steady, "You don't have to be good. You do have to eat," and Mike saluting the tofu, compliment incoming, "You lived." She doesn't say thank you. Not yet. The days are obvious if you know what to watch. The rectangle of light, the noise of people who aren't using you up, the door that stays at 2 inches. And the line she keeps replaying when she's brave enough, "Bite me if you must, but ask first." Invitation rule, dare she doesn't know. She hates wanting to find out. Hates it less every time and doesn't touch the door. The guest room door is cracked an inch. Warm hallway light lays a thin strip across the carpet and stops at her bare toes, like the house knows the line and won't cross it first. On the dresser, the hoodie she slept in, folded from when she shoved it away, the cheap flip phone still sealed, a single white cat hair clinging to the sleeve she keeps trying to flick off. Beyond, a kettle ticks. The radiator hums the kind of steady that drops your shoulders before you permit it. "Daddy." Bright little voice. "I'm here," Aizawa answers, level. Himiko sits on the carpet, gets one sock on, forgets the other in her hand. Fever's a film now, not a wall. Cough lurking. Lips split a thin pink seam. Human. Annoying. She eases the door 2 inches more. Sushi stretches in the hall like a bouncer long cat, flicking tail, half-lidded eyes. He looks at her, stamps her pass, moves one paw. Himiko slides a knee to the threshold and stops there. The hall smells like soap and rice. Miso has whispered itself into the air the way it does here every morning. Her body hears the salt first. Light feet patter. She almost shuts the door. Habit catches herself and holds there, breath shallow. Small socked feet, then a small person, airy, cheeks pink from winter, hair pulled back with 2 strawberry clips. Hands buried in her hoodie pocket like she's practicing being big. She clocks the crack, the girl behind it, the cat between. She doesn't flinch or stare. She stops an arm's length from the line like she knows where edges live. "Hi," Eri says, whisper loud. "I'm Eri." Himiko. She manages. The cough tests, retreats. "I'm dump sick," lands smaller here. "Okay," Eri says, accepting both like weather. She glances at Sushi. "He can go in rooms. He's staff." Sushi blinks like a bureaucrat who approves this message. "Copy," Himiko says before she can stop herself. Their word. Dangerous. From the living room, Eri, a book. "Don't sprint." "Okay." She heel to toes like a librarian in training. Stays outside the line. "Do you need anything?" Tripwire under the kindness. Asking commits. Himiko sidesteps and still lands right. "I've got soup." "True lately." "And a towel." "Good," Eri says, counting items, not judging people. She thinks of something. Her face lights. "Do you want a sticker?" "For your door." Himiko wants to say no on principle and yes so hard her teeth hurt. She picks a third path. "Show me." Eri fishes a stack from her pocket and fans them like a card shark. Bats with tiny clipboards. Stars with faces. 2 dignified cats. A bowl of soup with arms. "That one," Himiko says, pointing at the soup before pride can veto. "Accuracy." Eri beams. She doesn't step in. She leans and sticks the soup to the doorframe at Himiko's shoulder height. "When you're not hungry, he can guard." "Thanks," Himiko says, the way you thank paramedics. The word hits her ribs and does something she refuses to examine. Mike drifts into view a pace behind Eri with his volume at kitchen. Tray balanced like muscle memory. 2 misos, 1 plain rice, sliced apple, ice water sweating onto a napkin, green tea steaming. He stops at the edge of the light strip and tilts the tray so she can see. Room service approved by small management, he says. No upcharge. She looks at the tray like there might be a camera hidden in the tofu. What's the catch? You eat while the soup sticker supervises. He crouches and sets the tray just inside the threshold, then nudges it forward with 2 fingers so she can hook it with her foot. Hands out of reach without making a show of it. That's the catch. She makes a face so she doesn't have to say thank you twice in a minute. Drags the tray in with her socked foot. The apple is properly cold. Rice steam is a patient line. Miso shows tofu on top like an apology trying. Aizawa crosses the slice of living room like calm on legs. Hair tied back, sleeves shoved, scarf looped wrong in a way that says he answered a question while putting it on. He reads door, tray, cat, kid and the line. Himiko's sitting on. No commentary. He places a folded towel on the couch arm where a hand would reach without thinking and sets a small dish with 2 purple furicake packets on the low table nearest the doorway. Rice is plain unless you want otherwise, he says. Choose before the steam gets loud. Eri bounces once at furicake, remembers walking, performs it again. Can I put it for her? Hands already half out. Ask her, Aizawa says, eyes on Himiko. Do you want purple on your rice? Eri asks, very menu. Himiko hates being serviced, hates being seen, hates how fast part of her yelled yes. She takes the packets herself. I've got it. She tears, sniffs, claims. Cafeteria days blindside her. She rides it. Purple, she mutters. Okay. Eri watches like she's guarding the ritual from too much help. The flakes hit. She nods, satisfied. I like the pink one, she confides. It tastes like fish pretending to be candy. Mike cracks a grin. That's the brand tagline. Eri glances between Himiko and the sticker. Which side do you want your tea on? Left. It comes out too easy. She pretends it didn't. Mike slides the mug left with 2 fingers, slow, so the steam doesn't rush her face. Lemon lifts, honey throws a towel over it. First sip burns, then helps. She braces the tray against her shins. Eri sits on the hallway rug technically out, legs folded, palms planted, cataloging, towel, water, meds on the dresser, sealed phone, folded hoodie, sticker posted. She nods like an inspector passing a room. We're eating in the other room, Aizawa tells Eri, voice procedural. Hall stays quiet. Knock once if you need kitchen traffic clear. I'll hear it. Himiko flips rice with her spoon to move heat. I'm not a prisoner, she says, because the word lives in bone. Correct, he says, nothing added. He nods at the miso. 5 slow sips first. Then it behaves. I roll teen reflex and she tries it his way. 1, 2, 3, 4. It behaves. She hates being proven right about him being right. Daddy, Eri says, still studying the sticker. Can I put 1 low so she can see? You can ask the person whose door it is, he says. Gentle. Absolute. Eri swivels. Can I put a little star down there? For sushi. No would be safe. Fine, Himiko says. For the cat. Eri produces a smug-faced star and sticks it near the baseboard, sushi height. Sushi walks over, sniffs, looks insulted in a way that reads as approval here. Eri beams at the cat and, by extension, the universe. Do you want me to read to you? She asks, then tucks her hands back. Later. If you want. I have a book about a worm. Worm is advanced literature, Mike says, deadpan. It eats dirt, Eri reports, impressed every time. And then she checks Aizawa. Do I say the middle part? You can say the end. Then it makes flowers, she declares, skipping the body horror with the confidence of an optimist. She leans toward the sticker and whispers, guard. Himiko's mouth curves traitor soft. She kills it with tea. Show off. She eats purple rice and listens to the house. Rice cooker click, kettle hiss, radiator low, someone 2 floors up laughing. Morning noise, not a trap. Her blink rate evens. That scares her more than fever. Okay, star. Mike tells Eri. We're late for our very important breakfast of 2 eggs and 1 complaint about hair. Eri, practicing walking, pauses to make eye contact. She lifts a hand, then remembers. Policy about hugs, she says, confirming last night. Wave okay? Wave is okay, Himiko says. Her voice doesn't betray her. Eri waves from the elbow. Himiko returns a centimeter. Counts. Walk, Aizawa reminds. Eri walks small, fierce past the bouncer cat and down the hall. Mike winks in passing. Soup diplomacy, quiet and follows. Aizawa lingers just long enough to fix one thing about to go wrong. His scarf tail is about to snag the door hardware. He moves, stops at her look. May I? He taps the trailing wool with a knuckle ask in the motion. She should say no. Hold still, she says instead, reaches, flips, tucks. Wool, heat, proof of person. He doesn't turn it into a moment. He nods like she returned a stolen thing. Thanks, he says. Apple between bites if the tea's loud. You and your rules, she mutters, following them exactly. The apple cuts the salt. The cough tugs. She rides it, the towel already within reach. He notes it as inventory, not praise. Door's yours, he says, backing up a pace, then another. Keys are on the hook. I see them. Good. He gives the soup sticker a flat coworker nod. We'll be in the kitchen. 1 knock for clear, 2 for tea. Don't sprint, he adds toward the living room. Aries, okay, rings back like a bell. He goes. The hall stays warm. The light strip doesn't move. The idiot soup face grins. She glares at it while she finishes the rice and decides she'll tear it off later. She won't. Sushi slips inside like water, does a slow figure 8, shoulder presses her knee, and curls at the tray's edge, this side of thieving. Himiko taps a paw with the spoon handle. Menace. Sushi, she corrects herself, and his ear tips like approval. Another spoon of miso, slow. It doesn't fight. Tea goes down cleaner than yesterday. The towel only has to look ready. The door stays cracked, not open, not shut 2 inches. Her rule. She finishes the apple because it's simple. Scrapes the rice bowl and pretends it's neatness, not hunger. Drinks water because she's sick, not because they said. Leaves the mug half full because leaving some feels like control. She nudges the tray safe with her foot and leans shoulder to doorframe warm wood, bone. From the kitchen Mike narrates eggs and philosophy of salt. Eri treats it like a class. Aizawa moves through their words like punctuation. The house lets her hear it without pulling her in. That's the trick. Soup has a friend now, she tells the sticker, too low for the kitchen. Don't get cocky. Sushi thumps his tail once. The radiator hums. The scarf warms her jaw. The key hook glints dull in the corner of her eye, steady. Breakfast doesn't end so much as settle. She stays on the carpet at the crack and eats slow. The house keeps doing jobs in the other room. No one comes closer than she allows. No one leaves her long enough for it to curdle. When the miso's empty and the tea cools to safe, she taps the furicake dish with a fingernail private superstition. Purple means stay, pink means go. She doesn't open pink. Not yet. Steps at walking speed. A shadow stops before the line. Refill, Aizawa says. Or later. Later. She doesn't move. The door. He doesn't either. Rest, he says weather, not order. She nods into the scarf. The soup sticker grins like an idiot. She glares back to balance the universe and tucks her toes into the light strip. Allowed, for now. The tray sits against her shins. Miso ghosting heat, rice breathing, apple sweating into a napkin. Scarf looped once, loose fist at her jaw. Fevers of film, cough lurks. The house runs on low-power kettle clicks, radiator hum, cabinets close soft, 2 adult voices at inside volume. Background, not pressure. Soft socks on wood. Eri 2 steps back from the threshold, hands behind her like the rule lives there now. Ribbon crooked, tiny cat sticker on her cardigan, deliberately mismatched socks. She rocks once, peeks up through lashes. Not fishing, checking wind speed. Hi, Eri whisper says. I'm Eri. I like cats and apple slices. Do you need both? Clean question. No hooks. What if I say yes? Himiko asks, reflex sharp. Then I'll get them, Eri says, already brightening. She checks for sushi. He's half in, half out, tail twitching. Satisfied, she vanishes quiet as socks. Fridge. Cabinet. Mix, thank you star, and her, you're welcome. Himiko's mouth betrays half a smile. She wipes it with tea and scolds the sticker, rude. Across the hall, Hitoshi's already parked in the living room chair facing out. He didn't close when Eri came, he anchored. Beanie stuffed in a pocket. Calm eyes. One cat hair on his knee, unbothered. He meets Himiko's look, level, then runs a fast inventory hands, feet, breath and sets his phone face down on his thigh. Back to chair. Hall's clear, Hitoshi says dry. From what? People who stare. Can't from here. She squints. You a security camera? I'm a chair. Angle set so he can stand if Eri's enthusiasm tilts wrong. Wary for the small, not circling her. She wants to say don't monitor, wants to say thanks. Splits the difference. You're weird. Yeah, he says. We try to make it helpful. Small feet again. Eri returns at a lawful walk, breaks at her rope line. Cold bowl of extra apples, a fabric mouse on a string. For sushi, she says, presenting the permit. And apple for you. Himiko nods at the tray. There. Eri sets the bowl without crossing, lowers the mouse to the threshold like she's fishing off a dock. Sushi's pupils pop. One dignified bap, then both pause. Eri keeps the string tidy so the mouse doesn't trespass. Himiko's face refuses to move. It moves anyway. From the kitchen Aizawa, walk, not sprint. Copy, Eri says, adjusting 2 obedient inches. Sushi pins the mouse and purrs like an engine trying out idle. Himiko takes an apple. Cold shuts down lemon ghosts. Chewing is loud in a hall like this. Hitoshi looks past her to the kitchen permission boundary glance. His posture says stop sign without a hand. Want me to move? He asks, eyes on the far corner so it doesn't poke. No, annoyingly helpful, the human barrier. Do your little chair job. Finally, he mutters. I have a job. She snorts. The cough thinks about it and doesn't. Miso watches her from the bowl like medicine with a face. She wipes the apple on her napkin and edge-aligns it neatness instead of thank you, round 2. Eri lifts the mouse, gives Sushi a breather, tucks the stick under her arm. I can get more apple. Or different apple. Or star furicake, not purple. Purple's right, Himiko says, fast. Line in sand she didn't know she had until last night. Thanks. Eri beams like she passed an exam she likes. Hands behind her again. Distance reset. She studies Himiko's face the way kids do when they plan to draw you later. Do you need both? She repeats, back to page 1. Cats and apple. Right now. Himiko glances from bowl to cat. Looks like I have both. Okay, Eri says, satisfied. I'll get more if they run out. She rocks, dims herself a notch on purpose. I'm going to eat breakfast. You can eat here. We will be nearby. Quoted policy, proud. Okay, Himiko hears herself say again. The room is better at vocabulary than school ever was. She tries to kill the word with rice and purple. Salt hits, seaweed doesn't bite wrong. Her jaw loosens a notch. Mike breezes past the far end, apron low-volume domestic. He clocks the scene line held, cat employed, chair doing chair and salutes the sticker like a coworker. Breakfast starring eggs, toast, and a hydration lecture, he tells the air. Bo, Eri whispers on cue. Hydration slander, Mike agrees, vanishing. Hitoshi smirks at nothing. House comedy, he tells the wall. Sushi drags the mouse 2 inches into the room and flops like she invented gravity. Eri respects the line so hard it must ache. Aizawa appears at the living room edge, dish towel over one shoulder, scarf looped wrong again. Eri wordlessly hands him the toy. He hops the mouse back over the border like a tiny customs agent. Sushi pounces the threshold and misses on purpose. Eri claps without clapping. Aizawa doesn't lean in with a teacher, good morning. Quick scan, water, tea, tray, meds, Towel where apologies go, hoodie folded if she chills. He returns Hitoshi's nod with less than that. Message received, saw it, won't change your air. Himiko files it without admitting it matters. Spoon through rice. First miso sip. 2, 3, 4, 5. It behaves. Annoying how trainable survival is when it isn't trying to kill you. Eri clears her throat, practicing announcements. If you want me to read later, she says, like they never dropped it, I have a book about a worm. He eats dirt. He makes flowers. Quick family talk. Shoyuta says level. Kitchen stays kitchen. Guest room stays guest room. Hall is neutral. He glances at Eri. First ground the battery before you plug in. Eri. She straightens like she's being sworn in. Rules today. Walk, not sprint. Ask first. Hands behind your back if you forget. Door stays her call. Wave is enough. Eri checks her hands already behind her back, nods so hard the ribbon tries to jailbreak. Copy, she says, bright and careful. He shifts one notch to Hitoshi without moving his feet. You've got door duty without the badge. If students wander, deflect with guest is sleeping. No traffic jam. Staring gets redirected. If she knocks once, clear the hall. Twice is tea or help. Hitoshi's mouth twitches. Chair work. Copy. Mike, halfway in the kitchen doorway, taps 2 fingers to his apron like it's a radio. Apron quiet. Comedy on low. Shoyuta tips his mug. Meeting adjourned. He doesn't look past the line. He just checks that everyone can breathe and peels off toward the Himiko pretends her spoon needs arranging so no one catches her pulse dropping. You run a cult, she mutters into the scarf. Extremely boring cult, Hitoshi says. Dues are soup. Refunds? No. Eri gives the soup sticker a confidential pat. Guard, she tells it, then remembers and throws Himiko an elbow-only wave. Himiko returns the smallest flick of fingers. Counts. Sushi commits to a dramatic flop, half in, half out of the room, one paw in neutral like he understands treaties. Himiko nudges him with the spoon handle. Criminal. Sushi, she corrects herself, softer than she means to. Mick's voice floats. Star, last call on toast. Walking. Eri answers, walking in place to prove it, then slips away, strawberry clips bobbing. The hall breathes. Hitoshi tilts back into chair mode, the way a cat becomes furniture between blinks. Door's yours, he says like weather. Noted, she says, hating how right it lands. She taps the purple packet once stay and leaves pink for later. The light stripe warms her toes. The sticker grins. The cat purrs. She eats the last apple slice like it's a spell that only works if you don't announce it. Silence, but not empty. The kettle clicks itself off. A chair leg grates soft. A distant laugh from 2 floors up takes the stairs like a bird and vanishes. Her body keeps waiting for the part where the quiet sharpens. It doesn't. It just stays. Want me to rotate out? Hitoshi asks, eyes still on the far corner, not on her. From what? Being a chair. Hero work, she tries again, because the joke is safer than the gratitude. Budget cuts, he says. We do chairs now. She snorts, cough almost grabbing the end of it. Not today. She sips tea. Lemon used to have teeth in her head. The honey throws a towel over them. The miso has settled into the boring part where it just works. The purple furicake stares up at her like a decision she already made. Sushi stretches, spine a white question mark across the jam, and thumps his tail on her shin. He smells like laundry and smug. She scratches the safe spot behind one ear with a knuckle. Treaty signed. Okay, soup, she tells the sticker under her breath, because apparently she's a person who talks to decals now. Don't get cocky. Mike reappears just long enough to ferry 2 plates in a waiter's glide. He clocks the scene in a single sweep, Hitoshi anchoring, Eri not bursting through, Himiko with one fist in her scarf and the other on her spoon, Sushi in civil disobedience pose and throws the sticker a salute like they're coworkers. On his way past he whispers, hydration propaganda incoming, and vanishes again. Boo! Eri stage whispers from the kitchen, perfectly timed. Hydration slander, Mike agrees. Himiko realizes she's smiling and kills it with a bite of rice. Shoyuta drifts back to the far end, mug in hand. He doesn't approach. He notes the tray level, the water line, the towel within reach, the medicine caddy on the dresser, the sealed phone still sealed, the hoodie folded where a shiver could find it. He meets Hitoshi's eye. Tiny nod. I saw, I'm not changing your air. He ghosts away again. Himiko's shoulders do that traitor drop the radiator keeps getting out of her. She lets herself rest the back of her head on the frame half a centimeter, everything in her buzzing like it wants to call that, leaning on a wall. She refuses the word. She keeps the half centimeter. Soft socks. Airy again, walking, hands behind her back like she invented self-control. She's balanced a saucer of fresh apple slices with exactly one crunchy cat treat on top like a hat. She plants 2 steps back. Offering, she whispers to the space, not to Himiko. Acceptable, Hitoshian tones, like the hall is a court. Aries dimples try to escape. She lowers the saucer onto the floor between threshold and tray, eyes on the border, not on the person. Rule muscle is still flexing. For you, she tells the apple. For him, she tells the treat. Sushi materializes like he teleported, inspects, eats the treat with a ceremonial crunch, then executes a wobbly roll so his belly faces the neutral zone. But Himiko snorts. Eri vibrates but stays planted. It works better if you let the cat choose, Eri says, proud but whispering. Does it work on people? Himiko asks before her pride can stop her. Eri thinks hard, mouth going small. Sometimes, she decides, honest. Himiko's mouth betrays another almost smile. She duct tapes it shut with tea. She crouches slow for an apple slice left ribs complain. She pockets the win anyway. She pretends not to notice the room's pressure dial down 1 notch when she eats. Not a cheer. 2 to behind Eri, Hitoshi does a lazy scan he's definitely not admitting to, hands steady enough, breathing low enough, feet warm enough. He places his phone face down on the table beside him like a lifeguard parking a whistle. Hall's clear, he says, same tone as earlier. From what? People who stare. They can't do it from here. Lucky them. Lucky us, he corrects, flicking one glance at the soup sticker like he's rooting for Team Cartoon Food. The beat. If you want an actual camera, we can requisition one. I'd bite it. Ask first. He deadpants, and then lets the morning be what it is. Eri slides one hand out from behind her back slow, on purpose to show a second sticker she smuggled. A tiny star with smug eyebrows. Soup has a friend, she reports. He might need a team. Himiko looks at the cat sticker Eri didn't bring this time, then at Sushi, who's upside down with one paw up like a protest sign. Cat is a conflict of interest, she rules. True, Eri says, perfectly solemn. Star then? Low, Himiko says, surprising herself. Where the cat can see. Eri crouches and plants the star at baseboard height, directly under Soup. She presses with both thumbs like she's sealing a treaty. Team, she declares. She tucks the cat sticker back into her pocket like a secret for later. Star, Mike calls, your egg is staging a hunger strike. Eri flinches toward a sprint, remembers, walks. Bye later, she says, elbow waving and disappears. Hitoshi stands to no fanfare, stretches once like a person who has never in his life been dramatic, and sits again. If anyone tries to stare, he says to the neutral zone, they can do it from the stairwell. It's boring there. Hero work, she says again, because the bit is cozy. Chair work, he says, and the corner of his mouth gives up 0.5 millimeter. She cleans the rice bowl like she's neat, not hungry. The miso is honest at the bottom. Videos. Gone soft. The strip of light hasn't moved. Keys glint dull in the corner of her eye patient, not bait. Shoyuta appears, stays where the hall widens by the bookshelf. He lifts his mug in a small question. When she doesn't flinch, he tips his chin at the tray. Top up later, he says. Or not. Later, she says, and the choosing is the point. Copy. He vanishes. Himiko folds the napkin over the spoon with an edge alignment that would make a drill sergeant weep. She slides one sock toe farther into the warm strip and refuses to name the help it is. Sushi rotates, gets his flank against her shin, converts into a heat pack with opinions. The soup sticker grins. It looks less stupid with the star under it. She refuses to say that aloud. Don't get cocky, she tells someone. The cat pretends it was for him and purrs louder. Hitoshi shifts just enough to declare himself awake. Hall's still clear, he offers. From what? People who stare. They can't. Do it from here, she finishes with him, and immediately wants to bite her tongue. He doesn't gloat. He gives the sticker another secret team nod, like, look at you, recruiting. Mike breezes past the far end with a glass of orange juice raised like an Olympic torch. He clocks the toe in the light, the empty bowl, the half tea, the cat loaf, the not closed door. Breakfast verdict? He stage whispers. Illegal BLTs remain illegal, she says, dry. Appeal denied, he says, and disappears again. Minutes unspool. The house glides around her like a school of fish that learned not to bump. She doesn't bolt. She doesn't perform gratitude. She eats, and the cat steals the mouse again, and the chair is a chair, and it's enough. Socks on wood, softer this time. Eri returns for the victory lap with a coloring page clutched to her chest. A worm with a hat, obviously. She plants 2 steps back. I will be in the living room, she announces, like a tiny airline captain. Reading about the worm. If you want the middle part, I can skip it. What's the middle part? Himiko asks before she can stop herself. The dirt part, Eri says, confidential. It's a lot of chewing. Hard pass, Himiko says, but it comes out like a smile with a coat on. Copy, Eri says, thrilled to be understood, and walks away, a model citizen with strawberry clips. Hitoshi lets out a breath he wasn't pretending not to hold. You want me to rotate for a class? He asks, as if class and hall chair live on the same schedule. You'll miss the worm's character development, she says. I'll risk it. He rises, pockets the beanie, leaves the phone face down like a placeholder. Knock if you want the hall empty. From what? People who stare, he says, because this is their dumb radio check now. He gives Sushi a look reserved for coworkers who break rules and get away with it, and ghosts toward the stairs. She's alone with the light strip, the sticker team, and a cat who thinks borders are optional if you're soft enough. The quiet hums. The scarf warms her jaw. The keys do nothing. She presses her knuckles into the wall until it bites a little, because discomfort reads like control. From the kitchen, Shuda's voice again. Oh. Hitoshi, grab your bag. You'll be late. Copy, floats back. Mike sings a single bar of something dumb and bright, then remembers the house and swallows it with a grin she can hear. A mug lands in the sink with the restrained thunk of a man who refuses to clang. A window unlatches. Cold slips in, then behaves. The building sighs like an old animal that knows its job. Himiko taps the furicake dish with a fingernail purple stay, pink later, and feels the petty superstition anchor something that was drifting. She hates that it works. She lets it work anyway. Soup has a team, she tells the stickers, because no one is here to catch her being ridiculous. Don't screw it up. Sushi answers for them with a decisive headbutt to her shin, then executes the slowest blink in the history of bribery. Fine, she thinks. Fit. For now. She leans her shoulder into the frame another half centimeter and watches the light stripe not move. The door stays exactly how she left it. 2 inches. Not open, not shut. Hers. Hitoshi taps the chair arm twice. Got it. And if you hear me outside your door at night, he adds toward Himiko without pinning her with a look, I'm not listening. I'm just there. She snorts. The line is not comforting on paper and still lands where it should. That's supposed to be comforting? No, Hitoshi says, same dry. It's supposed to be true. Mike leans in a hair, catches the flinch behind her eyes at the word staying, and rolls his tone down like a volume knob. We can do door talk today, he offers, easy. Couch another day. No quizzes. No tour. Good, Himiko says, rough. I'm bad at tests. No tests, Shoyuta confirms. The next sentence lands like a clipboard fact, not a vow. This is Himiko. She's staying with us. The word hits like a soft punch. She hides it behind one blink. Mike clocks it anyway and swaps Show Yuta a tiny got it. He turns the grin down until it's just warm. Breakfast remains illegal, he murmurs. Eggs and toast jurisdiction. Hydration commissioner will address the nation later. He tilts his head at the kitchen, like a cabinet has opinions. It cuts the tension without making her the joke. Eri rocks heel to toe with stored energy and studies Himiko like a new vocab word. Hi, Himiko, she says, out loud this time, steady. Hi, Himiko echoes, quieter. She's not ready to put her own name on the table. She lets Eri do it and steals the comfort that comes with Eight and Ernest. Show Yuta reads the fresh marks at her wrists, the too new hoodie that fits because someone guessed right, the clean hair. Files it like inventory data, not judgment. Eyes tick, medicine caddy, water, towel on the couch arm, sealed flip phone. All where they should be. He labels the morning, calm. He checks Eri again, grounding the battery. Hands behind her back, mouse toy tucked under an elbow like a permit. The look on her face says she's passing a test she wrote herself. Policy about hugs? She asks, showing her work. Wave, Show Yuta says. Words later. Eri nods. I will wave. She waves from the elbow. Himiko waves a centimeter back. Counts. Mike keeps it house quiet. Logistics. Kitchen that way, bathroom is yours. If you want anything moved closer, point. Tell me if tea's loud or weak. Tell me if you hate tofu and I'll act shocked, then secretly be fine. Blasphemy, Hitoshi deadpants. I'm suing, Himiko says, safest line in reach. We validate. Lawsuits, Mike says, perfectly solemn. File in triplicate, 1 apple slice, 1 spoon miso, 1 bite toast. Eri giggles and clamps it down to save inside voice. She bounces once, remembers walking, smooths her socks with 2 small librarian steps. Show Yuta lets the moment sit. Then he sets the last piece where it belongs. Labels later. Headlines never. He doesn't look at Himiko when he says headlines. He doesn't need to. She's a guest. Sick. Getting better. Keep the hall quiet. Keep the door hers. Keep the kitchen boring. Boring is the point, Hitoshi says, deadpan. Boring is the point, Mike echoes, pleased. Eri remembers a thing. Can I put one more sticker? She asks, hands still behind her back. Low so Sushi can read. Show Yuta lifts a brow at Himiko. Her rule. Her call. Himiko eyes the spot under the soup sticker. No says clean. Yes says seen. Both feel like traps. The cat solves it by headbutting her shin and purring like he owns the building. Low, she says, bored on purpose. Where the cat can see. Eri produces a smug-faced star, crouches, presses it to the baseboard with both thumbs. Team, she tells the soup. You have a friend. Himiko rolls her eyes at the star because it's too cheerful. She doesn't peel it. She goes for the miso and does the stupid 5 sips thing the man said works. 1, 2, 3, 4. It works. She hates that. Hitoshi tips his chin kitchenward, smallest cue. Hydration commissioner approaches. Hydration slander, Mike calls back, still fond. He doesn't come closer. Doesn't stage a toast. Breakfast gets to be breakfast. Sushi decides the treat is finally safe, crunches it with ceremony, then flops against Himiko's ankle like a plug in a socket. Eri watches her plan succeed and does not explode with pride. Hands farther behind her back, one rock like a battery venting. I like cats and apple slices, she says, because that's where she started. Do you need both? Himiko looks at the purring heat pack, then the bowl. Looks like I have both. Okay, Eri says, satisfied. I can get more if they run out. She glances to Show Yuta for the walking rule. He nods. She walks off like a tiny professional. Hitoshi doesn't move. Chair duty, eyes on the room mouth, body blocking any long look. He speaks once, not loud. Kitchen's that way. Bathroom is yours. If you hear me outside at night, I'm just breathing. Not listening. Still not comforting, Himiko says, but the line lands like ballast. True beats comfort, he says, and goes back to being a boundary with a pulse. Yuta lingers just long enough to fix exactly one thing. His scarf tail is flirting with the door hardware. He starts to adjust, stops, and looks to her. May I? A tap to the trailing piece made physical. She should say no. Hold still, she says instead, loops the end over, tucks it so it won't snag. Fingers brush wool and heat. He doesn't make it a moment. He nods like she returned a tool. Thanks, he says. If tea is loud, apples cut it. You and your rules, she mutters, biting an apple slice. It helps. She hates that too. He lifts his mug a fraction. We'll be in the kitchen. Knock once for clear. Twice for help. Door stays yours. Copy, she says, and it's getting too easy. Mike salutes the soup sticker in passing. Welcome to a very boring breakfast, he tells the heir. Today's specials, eggs, toast, and the absence of interrogation. He grins at Eri. Star, you are promoted to sticker captain. Eri whispers, yes, like she won a tiny election. Himiko scrapes the rice into 2 neat half-moons so it looks like intention, not hunger. She tucks the towel where her hand will find it if the cough grabs again. Another slow sip, it lands better. The house keeps moving, low and warm. Keys stay on the hook, dull and visible. No one points, no one pretends they aren't there. I'm not saying thank you, she tells the sticker, the cat, the door, the 2 inches of light. Okay, Yuta says from the living room doorway, like he heard the shape of it. Eat. She does. Eri walks, not sprints. Hitoshi stays a chair. Mike narrates an egg with reverence so dumb it works. Names settle without turning into labels. Himiko listens to the dad talk cadence slip through the hall. 2 men who've done this enough to make it routine, not performance, and realizes, oh, this is different. Not Kara's trap. Not a test. A briefing for how to live through a morning. She holds the scarf under her jaw and lets the warm strip cross her toes. She doesn't bolt. She doesn't perform gratitude. She chews. The room breathes. The sticker keeps guard. The cat purrs. And when Hitoshi says, almost bored, hall's clear, she doesn't ask from what. She knows. And for once, the answer isn't me. They don't push closer. They just keep putting the room in order around her like morning is a job they clock into. Mike slides a glass of water onto the floor near the apples, not into her hand. It stops within toe reach and sweats a neat circle onto the napkin he parked under it. No hydration lecture. The glass exists until not ignoring it is her idea. Hitoshi uses the side of his shoe to nudge a pair of house slippers into the doorway like he's feeding a stray. Plain. No eye contact turns gifts into decisions. He goes back to watching the living room mouth like a chair with radar. Aizawa appears long enough to set a folded index card on the frame, halfway between the soup sticker and the star. He angles it so the bullet points face her, not the hall, like a note slid under a door without waking a baby. She pretends not to read it. Then she reads it. Twice. Medicine on nightstand. Take with food. Night knocks at 00 and 30 if your light's on. Ignore if you're sleeping. If you need anything, say the word door. One of us will answer. Not a contract. Not a guilt trap. Rules that don't bite. She files it there and hates that the folder exists. Mike settles into a half squat 2 steps back, same level Eri used, and watches Sushi do slow, professional violence to the mouse. That cat, he murmurs, is on salary. Sushi pauses mid-maul to blink like he'll be discussing compensation with HR. Benefits include tuna and union naps. Mike adds, solemn. Himiko eats an apple slice to avoid smiling. The cold does exactly what it's supposed to do, knocks down the lemon ghost, clears tea's lane without turning it into medicine. The miso still breathes a thin ribbon. She does the 5 sips thing, muttering, I hate this, between 3 and 4 because owning a habit is the only way she can stand it. Why do you keep putting the water on the floor? She asks finally, because someone should poke the illusion. The glass leaves a second, perfect ring in the napkin. Hands can feel like targets, Mike says, leaning a shoulder to the jam without crossing. Feet are better. Also, gravity is a partner in this house. Gross, she says, but her toes hook the glass and drag it closer like she's done it 1,000 times. Hitoshi tips his head at the slippers, still pointed in like shy animals. Not a requirement, he says. Warmer than wood. Quieter than socks. That's the pitch. Do they explode? She asks joke as defense is habit. Only if you sprint, he says deadpan. Which is illegal. From the kitchen, Eri narrates an egg like it has plot. Mike glances back, checks cadence, forks, plates, then returns to doing nothing on purpose in the hall. Himiko nudges one slipper. Flexible sole, inside soft without trying too hard. She hates house slippers on principle, they feel like permission. But socks slip on tile, socks freeze on wood. Pride loses to physics, barely. She braces a hand on the jam rib, says hello, and slides one foot in. Right size? Hitoshi asks, like the tape measure was a magic trick. Close enough, she says, which is her yes. He angles the second slipper the same casual, stray-feeding way. She takes it too. No thank you offered, none required. Aizawa's mug reappears at the far edge, steam thin now. He gives the index card a tiny tap so it won't slip. If the word feels weird, he says, meaning door, pick another and write it on the back. We'll honor the word, not the card. She snorts. Like what? Banana. If that works, he says. As long as you say it. She flips the card for tricks. Back again, block letters, boring, clear. A dot of T where he set the mug too hard. Stupid how the imperfection helps. She tucks it back under the soup sticker's grin. Night knocks. She reads again, suspicious. At the hour and the half hour? If your light's on, he says. Ignore if you're sleeping. Just reminds your brain a person is awake and close. Lowers the noise. I like noise, she says and hears herself. She looks away so no one else has to. Background, not pressure, Mike offers, gentler target. He tips his chin at the TV. We can rig the input so you can run ambient without autoplay traps. Define autoplay traps, Hitoshi says, dry boy with internet experience. Those videos pretending to be cartoons but actually psychological warfare, Mike says. Or the 10,000 microwave beeps compilation. Illegal, Hitoshi judges. Immoral, Mike upgrades. Annoying, Aizawa rules. Good, Himiko says because they made her laugh without prying. She lifts the water, takes 4 cold swallows, sets it back so the ring lands inside the old ring. Neatness as compromise, she won't say thank you, she'll trace a circle. Eri arrives at walking speed, hands behind her back to show she remembers. She stops 2 steps away and leans just enough to check the soup sticker and the star. They're still friends, she reports, in case stickers fought while she was gone. She clocks slippers, card, water rings. Looks very pleased without announcing it. I will now do school. Mike fingerguns that is not a gun. You will now do breakfast, he says, mock stern. She scampers, walks back, socks whispering over wood. Himiko stares at the index card because it's safer than staring at faces. If you need anything, say the word, door. One of us will answer. Her body wants to ask the obvious, what counts as anything? But the word is too big. She chews rice instead. Purple furicake tastes like a cafeteria that didn't eat her alive. The taste saves her from the question for now. Hitoshi breaks the quiet without breaking the room. There's a draft by the baseboard, he says, factual. If your ankles get cold, it's the vent, not a person. That's specific, she says. I did a lap last night, he says. I'm boring. She wipes her mouth with the napkin because suddenly she cares, which is humiliating. You're a chair, she tells Hitoshi, like naming his job resets the balance to a shape she recognizes. He nods. The most talented chair in the room. Mike is jealous, she says. It's true, Mike calls from the kitchen. If a chair could sing, I'd be out of a job. Sing later, Eri says, tutor voice then softer, inside voice. Inside voice, Mike echoes, pantomiming a key turn that doesn't clack. Aizawa checks her water level from his spot without leaning in. Checks the temp strip stuck to the medicine caddy without making a face. His eyes clock her hands on the mug, one knee up, body language undecided between bolt and nap. He doesn't tell her to relax. You can slide the tray 1 more inch, he says instead. It'll leave a line where you like it. He tips his chin at the faint scratch already there. She pushes it an inch. The scrape makes that good noise again. We're documenting a crime scene, she says, because a joke costs less than admitting I made a mark and no one yelled. We like evidence, he says. We love evidence, Hitoshi adds. We frame evidence, Mike says. Magnets on the fridge. Don't, she says, mock appalled. We won't, Aizawa says, the adult in the bit, meaning it. Sushi abandons the mouse, steps over the saucer, and loafs down on the exact square of her thigh that will pin her without trapping her. She pretends to be annoyed and scoots him with 2 fingers anyway. The purr thrums. Eri, passing by, glances and gives a tiny nod like yes, the cat is on duty. What about the word? Himiko says, to the index card more than to the men. Door. What if I don't? What if I can't say it? Then knock, Aizawa answers as if doors are simple. Once for clear. Twice for help. 3 if it's urgent. We won't talk through wood. We answer with feet, not mouths. Mike light. If you shout banana, I'll bring you a banana. Then we'll discuss your artistic choices. She exhales the smallest laugh. Don't test me. I would never, he lies politely, already planning to test her once, gently, 3 days from now, and be insufferably proud when she throws a napkin at him. Hitoshi taps the chair arm twice, then once lets her hear the knocks from here. That's the difference, he adds, so she doesn't have to ask. Hollow door. Sound carries. She copies the rhythm with a fingernail on the tray. 2, 1. Sushi's ear flicks, logs pattern as irrelevant, returns to purr. Ridiculous, learning house codes like she intends to use them later. She punishes herself with a spoon of miso and gets rewarded by perfect. Night knocks, she says again, worrying the tooth. Every half hour if the light's on. Stops if you turn it off, Aizawa says. Starts if you turn it on. Your switch, your air. What if I sleep with it on? Then you get a knock and keep sleeping, he says. We'll adjust. She stares through the card like she can see the night from here. Small check-ins landing against a closed door. Dumb how that image dislodges an old shard. She flips the card, prints door on the blank side with the pen Mike produces like a magician who stole school supplies, returns the pen 1 finger, like it might bite. The card goes back in its groove. There, Mike says, too pleased. Paperwork complete. Don't say paperwork, she mutters. It's a slur. Noted, he says, grin dialed down so it doesn't glare. Eri returns at an actual walk, dish in hand, stopping at the line like a student at an exhibit. Do you need both? She recites from earlier cats and apple slices. I have both, Himiko says, and the sentence lands softer than she'd like. Okay, Eri says, satisfied. She adds a tiny star low enough the cat can really see it. You can take it off if it's annoying. It's annoying, Himiko says, because she has to. Eri brightens. You can still keep it, she says, the kind of 8-year-old logic that repairs the world. Aizawa lifts his mug toward the kitchen. Hydration commissioner, he stage whispers that barely exists. You're up. Mike salutes the water glass. Commissioner approves of rings. That napkin is doing excellent labor. Unionized napkins, Hitoshi deadpants. Paper has rights, Mike agrees. Shut up, Himiko says, no teeth in it. She drinks for the napkin union and adds another ring. The room holds. The hall stays neutral and warm. The index card sits between soup and star like a small sign that says this is the way if you forget. Mike exists at the edge like a kitchen ghost who brings heat and bad jokes. Hitoshi exists like a boundary with a pulse wall or path as needed. Aizawa exists like weather, calm front, no sudden pressure changes, mug semaphore instead of speeches. Himiko eats. Half listens to a dull story about toast that is secretly about safety. Knocks the tray another inch to score the scene again. Adjusts the scarf and lets the scratch prove she picked it. She tells herself she hates being managed. She does not feel managed. She feels scaffold. Gross word. Useful reality. Mike nudges the water 2 centimeters away from the apples so the condensation won't wander. Hitoshi nudges the slippers 1 centimeter straighter because in houses that work, neat things stay where you leave them. Aizawa gives the index card a single nod like it passed inspection and retreats to the living room mouth. Eri rocks once, then remembers to plant her feet. Himiko looks at all of it and can't find the hook. That is the problem and the point. She takes another apple slice and chews like it's just breakfast. The cough doesn't bite. The cat purrs, smug. The last line on the card sits steady. One of us will answer. She reads it again, files it where she promised, and the file doesn't catch on anything sharp. For now enough. Eri checks that her hands are still behind her back, forgets herself for half a second, and pops one out, pinky extended, the international sign for promise. She holds it in the air between soup and star like she's about to bridge 2 countries. The pinky hovers. Her eyes flick to Aizawa, to Himiko's mouth, back to her own hand. She thinks better of it. The pinky curls quiet into a fist. She swaps to a full elbow wave, polite, contained, not a grab dressed as cute. I'm going to draw you and sushi, she announces, vibrating at a responsible frequency. If it's bad, I'll start over. Draw me with fangs, Himiko says, because she refuses to be anyone's princess and because a kid asking for her face is making her skin do something she won't name. Eri's whole face lifts like she found a cheat code. Okay. She rocks once on her heels to spill the extra energy, then walks away, tossing a soft copy toward the kitchen like a secret handshake. Strawberry clips flash, mismatched socks whisper over wood, gone. The hallway gets bigger by one small person. Sushi watches her leave with the flat stare of a supervisor who has notes. He slow rolls to prove he is not, in fact, on break, then resumes loaf mode against the jam, half in, half out, tail a whisker inside the line. Guardian placement. The mouse lies on its side like evidence. The cat treat saucer is clean. One furicake flake clings to the rim. Himiko swipes it with a thumb and flicks it into the hall so it can die on neutral ground. Hitoshi stands without scraping the chair and pockets his phone, screen down the move of someone ending a shift without waking a baby. He gives her one last look, flat, even. Not a challenge, not a dare. It says he saw her eat, saw her drink, watched the tremor settle, logged the breathing, the slippers, the way her hand stays on the scarf, and he's not turning any of it into a report card. If anyone makes you flinch here, tell me, he says. She arches a brow. Simple lines are traps. Including you? Especially me. Policy, and also personal. Then he walks toward the living room, angle set to block the longest sightline out of habit without making it look like that. Trust in his language. I'll go where the traffic is and keep it there. I'm not watching you eat like an exhibit. The house exhales. The hallway keeps its temperature. The warm strip on the carpet doesn't move. Apple bowl lighter. Water glass adds a second ring, perfectly nested. The index card sits between soup sticker and star, bullet points facing inward, not out. Medicine on nightstand, take with food. Night knocks at 00 and 30 if your light's on. Ignore if you're sleeping. If you need anything, say the word, door. One of us will answer. She reads it again to make sure it didn't grow fine print while she blinked. Mick's voice goes soft radio from the kitchen, the tone for pulling heat out of a pan and keeping Aries chatter in a lane. Soup at 5, he calls like weather, not orders. Pencil scratch. A kid getting shapes wrong, then more right. Hitoshi coughs once on purpose, clean, still here, and shuts up. Radiator hum, baseline. Kettle quiet. Aizawa's mug clicks down on a coaster like a metronome about to start and then doesn't. No one narrates her next move. No one hovers at the line. She backs 2 steps into the room because 2 steps is control and more is surrender. Leaves the door open the width of an apple slice. Her measurement, not 2 inches, not shut, not open, apple slice wide. Easy to widen, easy to step through, easy to take over. No one does. The gap stays her size. Sushi follows immediately, stands with all 4 paws on the threshold like a toll booth, then parks across it, front half in, back half out. Guardian line, enforced by fur. Step over the cat if you dare, the cat will file a complaint. She sits on the bed with the posture of someone refusing to be grateful about it. The mattress is the same comfortable as the first night. That should make it suspect. It doesn't. The hoodie on the dresser is folded because she threw it off when the fever made her skin too loud and someone, her, half asleep? Mick's ghost hands, stacked it without announcements. The sealed flip phone catches a slice of light. The star sticker is low enough that Sushi can actually see it, which is ridiculous and true. The furicake dish is empty except for salt dust. The water is half gone because she drank it, not because anyone told her to. The towel on the couch arm waits within reach, folded apology and also ignorable. Under the pillow, the sticky note is exactly where she left it. These are yours. She touches it with 2 fingers like it might trigger a trap and also like it might vanish. Cheap paper, block ink. She slides it back, edge aligned to the pillow seam. Superstition is cheap insurance. She's allowed to waste it here. The cough hits in a half wave. She rides it, hand to scarf, jaw set. It doesn't take her ribs like yesterday. It passes. The tea has cooled to friendly. She finishes it and chases the taste gap with an apple slice. Cold is honest. In her peripheral, the door at apple slice with space as a measurement that says yes to breathing and no to people. She likes it more than she wants to. Out in the living room, Aries' pencil scritches harder, stops, starts again, reset and retry. A little voice. Daddy, how do you draw fangs? Volume. Inside question, not announcement. Triangle. Aizawa says the answer to math and permission both. Small. 2 triangles. Eri repeats, committing. Not scary, just right. Just right, Mike echoes, sous chef to the room. Himiko swallows a laugh. Apparently she is a collaboration object now. That should be alarming except Eri asked aloud how to draw fangs and no one clutched pearls. 2 triangles. Not scary, just right. It scrapes the old rule show teeth and you failed and dulls it. She toes the slippers without committing to liking them. They sit where Hitoshi nudged them, neat and resigned. The floor has a draft. She's not being brave about ankles today. She slides them on. Grinds her heels once to seat the idea. Grit. Plain. Quiet. She can kick them off later. She will. For now, they make the room less complicated. The TV holds a paused cooking show Mike accidentally educationaled yesterday. Host mid-whisk too cheerful. She leaves it paused. Noise is a ladder. Silence is a different ladder. Today she wants pencils, the cough that isn't hers, mug clicks, boring talk. Today the ladder is the house. Aizawa passes the door sideways on his way to the kitchen. Not a sway, not a sneak, just a person at home. He sees the apple slice with the cat installed, slippers engaged, scarf in place, the card visible. He doesn't adjust anything. Drops a deadpan as he goes, because he knows jokes are insulation when done right. If the cat sells you counterfeit homework, don't buy it. She snorts before she can stop it. Not cute, a bark she'd usually swallow. The house hears and pretends it didn't. That helps more than praise. Sushi lifts his head at cat, pretends it wasn't for him, returns to loaf. Purr up a notch because the joke landed. Soup sticker grins like it contributed. Star under it pretends to be useful. The index card sits between them like a reasonable adult. Mike, still in report mode, repeats, soup at 5, this time like you'd say sunset, not appointment, fact. Aries' pencil keeps scratching. From farther down the hall, Hitoshi's single purposeful cough still there and then quiet. The elevator sighs 2 floors away for someone else. Radiator does its job and doesn't ask to be thanked. She lies back for a second, not a nap, just testing the angle. The ceiling's faint water stain sits like a cloud that refuses drama. She stares until her eyes stop trying to find threats in it. Left rib complains when she shifts. She edits the motion until it shuts up. Under the pillow, the sticky note nudges her knuckle. These are yours, and her hand relaxes around the word without her permission. She tries the word she won't say out loud on the inside of her teeth, just to see if it breaks anything. It rolls around like a marble, hits the dresser leg and the doorframe and the cat and the card and doesn't shatter. Instinct says spit it out before anyone sees it in her mouth. She leaves it there and lets it roll. In the hall, someone's shoes thump once the wrong speed then slow. Hitoshi's dry murmur from the living room mouth. Walk? Thanks. Feet adjust to house cadence. Traffic passes. Door duty without a badge doing exactly what Shoyuta asked. Deflect, don't police. She didn't even have to flinch. She folds the towel once and leaves it closer to the couch arm like future her is a separate person worth a good reach. Stands. Tests the slippers on the strip of wood between bed and dresser. Honest quiet. Adjusts the scarf a centimeter each as anchor and sand. She likes being slightly annoyed. Proof she isn't being managed to death. Straightens the index card, because if it slips she'll think someone touched it. Pushes the hoodie sleeves up enough to clock the cuff threads she stitched years ago, tiny stars she seeds on things she plans to run in. They look smaller against clean cuffs. Different scale. Same hands. The flip phone stares at her like a dare. She touches the plastic with one fingertip and snatches back. Not today. The old phone on the charger remains a brick. No one has asked to unlock it. No one has reached for it in her sleep. Tiny mercies. She hates needing them. The stickers are ridiculous, but every time she looks at them, she remembers Aries' hands behind her back, the pinky that hovered, the choice to wave. She hears Hitoshi again. If anyone makes you flinch here, tell me. Her stupid mouth including you? Especially me. Straight as a wire. She runs the trick scan. Ways this could be a play. Ways she leaves if it is. The apple slice door and how easy it would be to widen and the fact no one has. Saying door in the night if she needs. Pencil. The cough that isn't hers. Clicks. Letting her body learn the sound of nearby that isn't predatory. It isn't therapy. It's carpentry. The house is putting up beams and pretending it isn't. The cough sneaks back, smaller now. She sits, leans forward, lets it pass without chasing it. No towel. She likes knowing it's there. She drains the tea and parks the water glass over the ring so the napkin gets one more union job. Later Mike will make a joke about collective bargaining. She'll threaten to bite him, he'll say ask first, and Aizawa will pretend he didn't smirk. She checks the keys where they hang visible, dull, uninteresting. She doesn't move them. She doesn't need to. She also doesn't pretend she didn't look. Sushi chirps at nothing and resettles in the doorway like a guard who has decided the shift will be boring. Himiko leans back on her hands, stretches her chest, winces through the sore until it stops being the only thing she can feel. The slippers do exactly what Hitoshi promised. No slide, no sound. Aries' pencil pauses, then scratches the big reveal line that is always a kid's favorite, the hair, probably, or the fangs. A whisper, triumphant, 2 triangles. Just right. She's drawing fangs because Himiko asked for them, not to make her scary. That lands exactly where it needs. Hitoshi clears his throat once on purpose. Check. Somewhere behind him, the chair he uses to face the living room creaks a 1/4 inch and stops reset. Aizawa crosses the doorway, then recrosses, probably to rescue a suicidal towel. Mike mutters something hydroatsit that will turn into a hydration lecture if anyone gives him oxygen. No one does. He self-corrects and sings 2 notes at dish volume instead. Himiko lets the room move around her and decides not to move with it yet. The door stays apple slice wide because she wants house air in her lungs without letting the house own them. One hand stays on the scarf because that was her first line. The sticky note stays under the pillow because superstition is glue. The index card stays where she can see it because sometimes rules that don't bite can hold you up. The slippers stay because of the draft. She does not say home out loud. She lets it rattle around like a marble and doesn't catch it. A minute later, Shoyuta passes again, deadpan landing as he goes without breaking stride. If the cat sells you counterfeit homework, don't buy it. She snorts, loud enough to count. The house hears and pretends it didn't. Sushi pretends he never would. The sticker grins like an idiot. The star looks like the kind of optimism she hates in public and keeps in a pocket. The apple slice door keeps being enough. It isn't a ceremony. It isn't a vow. It's a morning where she ate an apple, drank water, didn't get handled or interrogated, and left the door the width she chose. That's the cost and the win. Stakes small, honest. She sits in it until the urge to run fades into a thing she can carry. In the kitchen, Mike taps a spoon twice. Habit, cue. Soup at 5, he says again, soft. The pencil scratches. The chair holds. The radiator hums. The keys hang where she can see them. One word on a car door waits like a switch she might use later. She breathes it in and out once to see if the house keeps standing with it in her lungs. It does.